Good morning and welcome to the AM show. I want to start this morning by encouraging you to embrace every challenge as an opportunity to grow. Each step, no matter how small, moves you closer to your goals. So keep going, keep persevering. The goal is in sight. Don't give up. And on that note, let me tell you what we are doing this morning on the best breakfast show on the block. My name is Sweetie Abochi. Welcome to the AM show. We'll start by serving you the AM news, the first news bulletin on the channel. And then we'll get into our news review segment. Today being a Wednesday, Dr. Kwame Hassan Asante, political scientist and head for the Center of European Studies at the University of Ghana, will join us to review the various newspapers and the stories captured in them. And Muftar Nabil Abdullahi will then bring you AM Sports before our big stories begin. This morning, we'll take a look at Ghana's extractive industry and the dominance of foreigners and how it has impacted our ability to maximize these resources and how the manifestos of the two major political parties address what has become an existential problem. Also, keeping the workplace safe, free from fire outbreaks, what really went wrong at that 12th floor Job 600 building that serves as the offices of members of parliament yesterday and the parliamentary service staff? What are the lessons for the public and corporate entities? We will get to know all about safety at your workplace. If you already know, then we will remind you on how to keep safe at the workplace as we engage the Ghana National Fire Service later on in the show. And then we'll open the phone lines for you to phone in, share your thoughts, ask your questions, just get chatty with us this morning on the AM show. So, of course, in the meantime, you can follow us and share your comments with us across all social media platforms at Joy News on TV. Folks, welcome aboard the AM show. Let's start with the AM news. Many thanks for your company. Details now. A devastating fire engulfed a residential building at Malamata in Accra. The fire, which broke out at around 5 p.m. Tuesday evening, caused extensive damage to the building, displacing several families and destroying personal belongings. According to eyewitnesses, the fire spread rapidly, fueled by the highly flammable materials in the building. Panic-stricken residents were seen rushing to evacuate the premises, with some narrowly escaping the inferno. Kenneth Jesse has more in the following report.
Well, the place might look darker now, but just about an hour and a half ago, this house was up in flames. We're told that a woman left her cylinder unattended to, and it got lit, and the entire place went up in flames.
A woman who just lighted a gas and then trying to prepare something to eat. By when that he left the fire and then the gas and then left in the room. So that has to bring that explosion of destruction of destroying people's rooms and then other.
The fire service personnel who came on duty tell us that they were on time.
In fact, we had a call 1806 hours. That is 606 hours. 1806 hours. And we got here 1816 hours. Now, when you get a call, we take 1 minute to dispatch the tender. And the vehicle came from Circle. And around this time, the road is very busy, the traffic. So they got here in less than 6 minutes. So if you say we didn't come here early, well, I beg to differ. And again, who called us? And at what number did he call? These are things that we need to find out. Many times, yes, you did well by attempting to salvage some of the items, but your initial attempt is to call us before you tackle the salvaging aspect.
But the eyewitnesses beg to differ.
I heard they said 6 minutes. Imagine if it was 6 minutes. I don't think this thing will happen. They should be up and doing. When they call them, they should respond to us and come in. If they think they are lacking one or two things, they should let the government know and he will do it for them.
From Malata in Accra, Kenneth Jesse for Joy News.
The opposition NDC is promising to recruit 25,000 additional police officers to support the 24-hour economy, ensuring round-the-clock safety for citizens and businesses. One West MP, Peter Tobu, added that the next NDC government will construct 1,000 housing units for military personnel and improve the salaries and conditions of service for troops, recognizing the crucial role they play in maintaining national security. The following report has more.
Speaking at the inaugural sectorial press briefing, Peter Tobu outlined the NDC's comprehensive security strategy. He emphasized that the recruitment of 25,000 police officers is a critical component of the party's 24-hour economic policy, designed to create a safer environment that will foster economic growth and stability.
We will develop a comprehensive security and safety program to support the implementation of one of the most famous, if not the famous, or the STAR program or policy of the NDC government come 1st January 2025, the 24-hour economic policy. We're going to recruit 25,000 officers, 25,000 men to add to the existing strength so that we have the capacity to police the policy of the 24-hour economy.
On health, former General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, Titus Bayuo, assured that the next NDC government will put in place measures to prevent the brain drain of specialists and medical professionals in Ghana and construct a 500-bed children's hospital in Accra.
Graduate from the year 2020, 2021, 2022 are still at home of nurses, and 2023 has just joined, unemployed. And because we have about 100 and few days to election, they've opened the portal for only 2020 nursing graduates. All other cadre of healthcare workers, no information yet. Maybe in November, they'll open another portal just to get votes for it. We intend to construct a 500-bed specialist hospital, children's hospital, and a fertility center in Accra.
On education, MP for Busa South, Clement Park, indicated that a future NDC government will abolish the double-track system, complete abandoned E-block schools, and ensure the student placement system works on merit basis.
Indeed, the slumping of quality in education as well as outcomes is evident at all levels. Ladies and gentlemen, the next NDC government will comprehensively reset our educational system in collaboration with all stakeholders. Our goal is to aggressively expand infrastructure, enhance teacher welfare and professional development, and increase investment in the sector for quality outcomes.
The party says it will host a weekly briefing to elaborate further on other aspects of their manifesto.
Still from our election headquarters, NDC flag bearer John Dramani Mahama has criticized NPP flag bearer Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia for dissociating himself from what he describes as the failures of the Akufo-Addo-led government, while being quick to take credit for its successes. Speaking at Adan on the first day of his tour of the Greater Accra region, he promised to construct roads and implement measures to develop the tourism and salt industry there. Maxwell Agbagba has more in this report.
Ashaiman MP Ernest Nogbe singing to welcome the NDC flag bearer to his constituency. It was the first day of phase 1 of the NDC flag bearers tour of the Greater Accra region. John Mahama delivered scathing critique of NPP flag bearer Mahmoud Bawumia's media engagement.
I say we got DVLA. Near got testing one sir. Near who's a unim car neka. And sir near your license.
You know, the intention for doing that media encounter the next day after we had announced our manifesto was to turn the attentions of Ghanaian from the NDC manifesto. When you do something with devious intention, it backfires on you. You know how to tell when somebody is lying. If there are people who are smooth talkers, who can speak rat-tat-tat-tat-tat like machine gun, the time when they become stammerers and they start stammering, you know they are lying. Somebody who can speak tat-tat-tat-tat like AK-47, suddenly media encounter, I think, the person started stammering. and you can't tell the head or tail. The fundamentals are weak. And then it went logoligi, 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 logoligi.
John Mahama says the NPP flag bearer wants to take credit for the initiatives of this government, but does not want to take responsibility for the failures.
And so I can assure you that sea defense and protecting your shore and your beach will be one of the priority projects that we take care of when we come into office. And he said something that when the budget is presented, whose name is on it? It's the president's name. It's not my name. This is the first time I've seen a vice president running away from his president's track record. Government is a continuum. Government is a whole. Government is a collective. And what we have in democratic government is collective responsibility. You all take collective responsibility for what happened. I was the head of the economic management team under Professor Mills. When the budget was going to Parliament, the budget was in the name of Professor Mills. But I never ever disowned Professor Mills's budget. Because the budget comes to cabinet, we all argue and decide what the budget should be before it goes to Parliament. So you can't sit in cabinet, take decisions on the budget, then when it goes to Parliament and the economy has crashed and things are not going well, you say, oh, my name was not on the budget. It was the president's name on the budget. And so every good thing in the government, you did it. I did Ghana card. I did this, that. But when it comes to the economy,
At Adan, he was petitioned by the residents to help address their concerns about the salt project there if he's elected.
It gives us the opportunity to express our heartfelt, gross injustice
The Oti Regional Director for Health, Dr. Osei Kufuor, has bemoaned the continuous dependence on the Volta region for some administrative processes. This, he says, is affecting the provision of quality healthcare delivery to residents in the Oti region. There's more in this report by Peter Senu.
This is not the first time the Regional Health Director has lamented the Oti region's dependence on the Volta region, despite the region being carved out of the Volta region some 5 years ago. Currently, the Oti region still takes its medical supplies from the Volta region. The distance and the nature of the road, Dr. Osei Kufuor believes, is affecting quality health delivery in his region.
We appreciate the fact that Oti region was carved out of Volta region, and Volta has done their best. And I think Oti region has been in existence for almost 5 years now. And we believe that it's time that we are able to manage our own issues. So one of the issues affecting our healthcare delivery is availability of commodities, simply because we don't have a regional medical store, which we are fighting hard to get it. So currently we are still using the Volta regional medical stores, and sharing that stores with the Volta region is becoming a huge problem for us, because my people have to travel longer distances to go and pick commodities and all those things. So we believe that if we are able to get our own regional medical stores, then we can stock our stores with the commodities that we need, which will make it easily available for the health workers to use to save more lives.
One of the issues, again, of concern to the Regional Health Director is teenage pregnancy, for which Karachi West Municipality is leading. Dr. Afre wants adults to rather allow teenage girls focus on their education.
Girl child education has taken a center stage in the world right now, that we expect all our adolescents to be in school, to be learning, to become better citizens for every country. But Oti is becoming a worry that for Karachi West, we still see increasing adolescent or teenage pregnancy, as we commonly term it. And they are doing about 14.9, which is so high for us. So we have identified that, and it seems consistently for about 2 or 3 years it's been like that. So I'm putting together a team to do a little bit of investigation to find out what are the factors contributing to this. There's cultural factors, environmental factors, and that. But through this, we are appealing with parents that at least they should give attention to their wards, because most of the pregnancies that we are having is not coming from the peers. It's coming from older men who are impregnating the young girls. So we are pleading that parents and traditional authorities should pick this thing up as we also investigate deeply into it, so that we'll be able to curb this menace and the girl child will have the free mind and opportunity to also advance their education to become better citizens for the country.
Peter Sanu for Joy News.
But now let's go for our business update. In a business front, some rice farmers are casting doubts over the effectiveness of the ban on exports of some grains to avert food shortage in the coming weeks. Government yesterday announced the ban of exports on some grains to help prevent food crisis from next month. But chairman of the Competitive African Rice Platform, Yao Poku, says the porous nature of our border might make it difficult for it to work.
We've been through that scenario several times since the PFJ started, and it has not really worked. The good intentions of the government and the minister is thrown out when it gets to the field. So you go out there, those who are exporting it, smuggling, it's not actually exported, they are not captured by the data collectors, because they are not exporting through the well-known ports and gateways. They are exporting through the bushway, a truck at a time. And so you may have about, say, 1,000 metric tons leaving within a day from a particular district or area. And that is what is happening. And because the borders are porous, we cannot do anything to stop it from going. This is the situation we find ourselves in.
And
so the ban will not
conclude that for me.
So I don't think the ban will really have the effect it's supposed to have. I don't think so.
Accounting firm PwC has joined calls for policy reforms which will simplify the country's tax administration. According to country's senior partner at PwC, Vish Ashiagbo, the current tax structure makes it difficult for individuals and businesses to comply. Speaking at PwC's Banking Customer Experience Breakfast Forum, he called for clarity on some tax laws to make its interpretation easy and transparent.
PwC, we do believe that there's a need for our tax landscape in Ghana to be, let's use the word rationalized. When I say rationalized, I'm not suggesting that taxation should necessarily be reduced. What we're saying is that the way it's structured needs to be rationalized. It should be made simpler, more transparent, and easier to administer. So for us, we think these are the issues. We clearly have a challenge with revenue as a whole. So we are advocates of increasing domestic revenue by broadening the tax net. And we do believe that one of the ways we can achieve that, interestingly enough, is to simplify the environment and also allow for more certainty in how some of the tax laws and regulations are interpreted, so that businesses can see what they are due to pay. And, you know, most businesses actually are not averse to paying taxes. All people or businesses are looking forward to is clarity, transparency, and fairness in terms of the administration of the tax environment. So we support the rationalization of the tax system to make it simple, transparent, easy to understand, so that people can comply with the obligations without too much hassle.
Currency markets update comes up now. And it's a wrap for the AM News Bulletin on the AM Show. Coming up now is the News Review segment, and Dr. Kwame Asante, political scientist and head for the Center of European Studies at the University of Ghana, will be joining us to review the newspapers. Stick and stay. And you're live on the News Review segment on the AM Show with me, Sweetie Abochi. My guest this morning is Dr. Kwame Asante, and he's political scientist and head for the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. And he joins us via phone now. Doc, good morning to you.
Good morning, Sweetie.
I understand ECG paid you a visit. It did me too last night.
yeah, just this morning. This morning.
Sorry. Yeah. So, Doc, I mean, given the circumstances, but we still have to do this for God and country. So walk us through your thoughts for this morning in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I want to look at some of the campaign promise by the Dr. Bawumia. If you look at the campaign through the manifesto, a lot of ideas have come up, brilliant ones, some. So we need more answers from them and the rest of them.
Doc, your voice is fainter than usual. Maybe you could speak up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it better now?
Yes, it's better.
Great. I'm saying that I want to look at one of the campaign promises of Dr. Bawumia, and I want to put that one in context. He did say that he wants to improve irrigation, make it possible for people to have irrigation, and that will enhance production of agriculture and all that. Beautiful one. But come to look at it, if you look at the problems we are having today relative to what the food insecurity, particularly in the north, it all comes on the fact that we have the whole northern farming community rely on rainfall for agricultural purposes. And as soon as rain fails, then you have a difficulty. That tells you that when we are making public policy, we have to make it in such a way that what we throw out becomes something useful and it supports the whole community. If Pualugu Dam had come on, we wouldn't have this problem because the basic problem of the north is lack of irrigation.
Right.
And that has created all manner of problems. So I will urge all the political parties, particularly MPP, that now that they are also repromising the construction of Pualugu Dam using, the intervention of public sector to come into, they should make sure that they walk the talk. And at the end of the day, when they are given the mandate, they will do what they have promised. Broken promises have direct consequence on the society.
Right.
And that this is just one of the examples that we'll find. So going forward, I want to urge the political parties that whatever they do promise, when they are given opportunity, they must implement them so that you save yourself all manner of troubles. Look at what we have here, food insecurity in the north. If Pualugu Dam had come on, I'm sure this problem would not be what we are discussing today. That is what I have on my mind this morning.
Thank you so much for that insightful, those insightful thoughts, Doc. Let's get into the newspapers. On the front of the Daily Graphic newspaper, Asantehene distools 3 chiefs over Galamsey. Bawumia commissions 10,000 YEA artisans and they receive starter packs for businesses. And let's get into that story. GCB Bank also maintains strong half-year growth. Let's start from the Asantehene distooling 3 chiefs over Galamsey, and that story is on page 13 of the Daily Graphic. It says the Asantehene Otumfuo Osei II has distilled 3 chiefs in the Ashanti region for the involvement in illegal mining. That's Galamsey. The 3 chiefs, Jasehene of Sabronum, Nana Egwa Jao Etiomi, Sabronum's Achiamehene, and the Bemuhene have been banned from performing any traditional mandate on behalf of the Asantehene, who is the overlord of the Asante Kingdom. The Asantehene subsequently appointed the Ekwemuhene of Sabronum as the interim caretaker of the area to supervise the election of a new candidate, Kofi Asante, as part of the process to install a new chief in the area. Doc, is this a good call?
Perfect. Perfect. I gave my heart to the king. The king has always been very, strict in matters of this nature. And this is one of the beautiful examples he has given us.
Yeah.
That this wanton destruction of the forest cannot be allowed to continue. All right. And particularly when we have chiefs who are the traditional or natural owners of the land, allowing these things to happen. And then obviously, as Asantehene will not sit down for you to destroy his land like that. He will come in, and he came in timely, right? I think that this should be the example for all other chiefs to follow, that the area that you control, when you see something, do something. Because all of us are at a risk if we allow the ecosystem to be destroyed, our arable lands for agriculture to be destroyed. At the end of the day, if we destroy our water bodies, where are we going to live? What are we going to live on or survive on? It is important for us to take such decisive decisions. And I applaud the king. It should be an example for all chiefs.
And I mean, it should even extend to our leaders. If we could use this approach if the government could adopt this approach, if you hear that a minister somewhere is funding Galamsey activities, you remove them from office. And it serves as a warning or deterrent to others to follow. But here we are, we have rumors and reports, sometimes verified, of leaders, government officials funding Galamsey activities in areas. And, you wonder how the leaders who are supposed to be curbing or nipping this issue in the bud are the ones leading this charge. And what is it doing to the country, Doc? Yeah,
that is what it should have been the case. But we have a different story. As for the fight against Galamsey, I know the MPP has lost it. Maybe a new MPP one day will take up this fight. But for this government, I'm sorry to say, it has lost it and it's not ready to fight it. So the least said about that, the better. Right.
Let's do some other stories. Peasant farmers are calling for engagement over the outbreak interventions. The Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana has welcomed the raft of interventions by the government to contain the looming food crisis as drought sweeps across the key food production zones during the main farming season. And the association, however, said the ban on grains exports was, quote, premature, hasty, and came without the necessary consultations to find a better way to handle the prevailing situation. The CEO of the business unit of the association, Dr. Charles Nyaba, told Daily Graphic yesterday that the government's intended support was timely and that the association, quote, welcomes government efforts to ease farmers' situation from the impact of the drought experience. And sometimes I listen to some of them and they say that some of these farmers, if not majority, have took monies, investments, and they pump these monies into their farms purposely for export, reasons. They're growing these crops or grains because they want to export them. So if the government, without consulting them, places a ban on exportation of these grains, you're inherently destroying someone's business and investments, and it would plunge them into debt, which in the long term also has, implications on the economy as a whole, Doc.
Yes. It tells you that, look, the decision was born out of, not careful decision taking. It came out as a knee-jerk reaction if what the group is saying is anything to go by. When you have stakeholders and there is a problem, you involve all of them. You sit down, you judge, and you arrive at a decision. That decision becomes everybody's decision. and that when you involve them, whenever there is a problem, they will be able to explain them, and then the two of you or the groups or the members will be able to find exactly what the solution should be. When such a decision is taken, every member will defend it when it comes to an attack. But when you leave members of the group out and you take your own decision that affect that group, obviously that is the fashion in which they will come out. So it tells you that the decision was not born out of consensus. If it had been the case, there would have been something different in terms of what reaction. I'm afraid the government has to go back to the drawing board and do the needful if it really want this decision to stand the test of time.
Well, yesterday, I think we spoke to the PRO for the Agric Ministry, and he was saying that, well, they've heard the concerns of these farmers, and they would be inviting them to listen to their pleas, and they'll take
You are now inviting them after you've taken a decision that is affecting their life. They are key stakeholders in the matter. You are taking decision without consulting them, and now that you are getting reaction, you are going for them. Why? You are putting the cart before the horse. That should not be the case.
But this is what we have. So, Baumia commissions 10,000 YEA artisans. The story starts from the front page. The government has graduated 10,000 youth trained in various vocations under the Youth Employment Agency and commissioned them with packs. Where's that story? With packs of tools for them to use. I'll just get to it in a bit. Yeah, packs of tools and equipment to start their businesses. And they are the first batch of 20,000 young people to be trained through a 6-month intensive skills acquisition in various vocations. And the trainees went through accelerated apprenticeship training in hairdressing, plumbing, auto mechanics, plaster of Paris, that is POP, ceiling work, painting, and general electricals. Other areas are tiling, decoration, aluminium. So it's a number of them. And at the graduation ceremony in the Bono East Regional Capital, Techiman, yesterday, the Vice President, with the assistance of the Minister of Employment and Labour Relations, Ignatius Bafwewa, the Chief Executive Officer of YEA, Kofi Ban Ajepong, and others presented boxes of tools, equipment, and other accompaniments, also known as starter packs, to enable them start businesses of their own. Doc?
A great policy. A great policy. I commend Dr. Baumia on that score. Because, you see, there are a lot of young people roaming in the street of Ghana who don't have jobs simply because they don't have employable skills. So this type of training, we equip them with employable skills. Then they become attractive to the market, and then they can earn a living. And that is how we build a society. All societies that have developed, particularly in the first world, they've gone through all this. So if we are starting, we need to sustain it and make it better, moving it from strength to strength. And that is the way to go. I support the Vice President on that. It's a good call.
And I mean, it's also, it brings to mind that Kaya Development Empowerment Program. And we also saw some of the, those who were onboarded onto the program come out. And I just wonder what their lives look like right now. It's not just about giving them the skills and the starter packs, but how sustainable is it? Out of this 10,000.
Yeah, that is why I was saying that they should be able to sustain. It's not only doing it for the first time, but we want to continue and then move it to another height. That is the way to go.
Yeah. Let's do some election stories. The integrity of 2024 elections can't be jeopardized, according to the Electoral Commission. And the Electoral Commission has assured that a biometric verification device cannot jeopardize the integrity of the 2024 elections. Quote, "It does not affect the integrity of an election. It is nothing more than an off-the-shelf device and cannot be used to compromise an election without the necessary technical and security protocols," a statement signed by the Deputy Chairman of the EC in charge of operations, Samuel Tete, said. And this follows the arrest of a man at Nsawam last Friday for the possession of a biometric verification device. It said the EC would collaborate with the Ghana Police Service to bring the matter to its logical conclusion. And the statement therefore urged Ghana Police Service to do everything in their power to, bring the perpetrators or unravel the circumstances surrounding the BVD that was found in the possession of the man. This assurance, I do not know how Ghanaians are absorbing these assurances from the EC. First, it was the missing, equipment, and they keep assuring us that it has no implications or cannot impact the election in any way. But how does a BVD end up in the home of a man in Isawam? It's a mystery that I cannot wrap my head around. Doug.
That is also a difficulty for me, because you see, these devices are very, very important towards the success or otherwise of every election. So if you really want to maintain the integrity of the election, you go to high heaven to be able to safeguard it, so as to prevent, people from having these things. So now that you have an example like this, the question is what you have said. How are you going to convince people that this is the only one that was, tampered with, and that there should not be any cause for worry? It's a difficult one, but I want to rely on the statement that this will not compromise the election, because anything that will compromise the election, I'm afraid nobody will take this. And it is incumbent upon the Electoral Commission as an election management body to be able to manage all these things very well, so that a thing of this nature will never be seen as we go forward. That is the only way, because anything that will raise an eyebrow will obviously undermine the fortunes of the election. And this, you and I are not ready to countenance at all. We want the Electoral Commission to be able to do the needful by protecting these things through whatever means, so that we don't have such occurrences. It is not good enough.
I mean, it's just these stories, when they come to light, most people who watch political talk shows like these will get the information and these assurances that the EC is giving. But others who, don't have the time nor even watch shows like these or follow the issues might just hear that a BVD has been found in someone's home, and they're thinking, it means the EC seemingly does not have their house in order. And it doesn't augur well for them, the speculations and the stories. For the Electoral Commission, well, I think they need to be more intentional going forward on how these issues are handled. But let's stay on election. The Peace Council has admonished pastors for no election prophecies. And I think it's very important. The National Peace Council has admonished pastors to be mindful of election-related prophecies, as they have the potential to increase political tension, which could lead to violence in the run-up to this year's election. The chairman of the NPC, Reverend Dr. Ernest Edu-Jemfi, said election prophecies and certain utterances from pastors could adversely affect the peace and security of the country. Quote, religious utterances can lead to increased tension among different groups. It can also become a major source of human rights violation, breakdown in social cohesion, and the stability of a nation. These unfortunate utterances often lead to violence and displacement of people, and can have long-lasting effects on societies. We've seen them in years past about, I had a dream, or I saw this prophecy that this particular flag bearer won the elections, and when they don't win, people are, they want to take the word of the prophets as against the word of the electoral commissioner. Doc, your reflection on this story?
Yeah, it is a good call, and that is how it has to be. These results and projections and all that are done by scientific processes, and we don't use prophecy and whatnot. It is true that God will speak to some people, but there are other people too who don't want to know any prophecy except what science tells them. So that is the basis upon which the Peace Council is speaking, that things of this nature can jeopardize the whole electoral process and can create problems. So we urge the pastors and the rest of them to stay away from these things. It doesn't help anybody, because we have seen the activities time and again, and more often than not, they don't get it. Those who, get it, it's not born out of science. Talk to statistics people, the mathematics and actuarial people, they will tell you that even if you get it wrong, you get it right. And it's projected not out of science, it's totally wrong. It is just like lotto. So they should stay away and allow science to determine these things. so that they don't create problems for us.
Okay. In sports, GFA, this is still the daily graphic. GFA to distribute 13 buses to women's clubs. So 9 Division League clubs and 4 Women's Premier League clubs will soon be presented with buses in fulfillment of the promise made by the Ghana Football Association last year. According to the GFA boss, Ket Simon-Okreku, the buses that had already been shipped into the country were locked up at the port due to some challenges in clearing them, but added that they were seeking support from the government to clear them. Speaking at the 30th ordinary session of the GFA Congress, quote, the GFA boss says 13 buses have arrived in Ghana. We've had problems clearing those buses from the port. We've sought support from the government. We hope the support will come, but our promise remains the same. We will deliver the buses to 9 Division 1 clubs and our 4 Women Premier League clubs very soon. And we will engage with FIFA to purchase $100,000 worth of footballs and also invest $100,000 in purchase of footballs for the Colts clubs. These are ambitious promises, but if the buses are already in the country, I think it's a step in the right direction, Doc.
I always have a problem, or is becoming a problem in recent times. If you look at clearing of goods from the port and the rest of them, this is not the first story we have heard where they had difficulty in clearing goods from the port.
Yeah.
We have also heard stories where drugs that are meant for certain illnesses and given to us free of charge by donor agencies have also remained in harbor. The problem is how to clear them.
Yeah.
Why is this thing happening? Especially when there are things that the government is going to use for the betterment of society. Why should it be a problem in clearing them? It means that the things do not work well. There are things that are happening in the port at the blind side or of the government, or government have failed to know that they exist. They should do the needful by clearing all these hurdles so that things of this nature they go through smoothly. Because I don't understand why things that are meant for use by government finds it difficult to clear them from the port. After all, who controls the port? Is it not government? This story is not the best.
Does it smell fishy?
Sorry?
Does it smell fishy about the buses being in the country and these challenges at the ports? Something amiss, you think?
That is the concern I'm raising, that I don't understand. Yeah. Because who controls the port? Is it not government? These buses are meant to further the work of government. I mean, you are talking about GFC getting buses and all that. Why are they struggling to get them out of the port? I mean, so it doesn't add up. There is something missing in there. Okay. Look at drugs for, the
global fund drugs,
certain events and all that. We heard stories that these things were allowed to even rot there. Why should it happen? There is something wrong. The government must get the basis right in that direction.
Let's move away from the daily graphic to the daily guide now. On the front page, there's a story about the 10,000 youth graduates from the YEA program. NDC goons attack NPP supporters over drip project. Wow, that's interesting. Talk about... Okay, let's get into that story. The arrival of District Road Improvement Project equipment at Asesewa in the Upper Manya constituency of the Eastern region was blocked by some National Democratic Congress supporters at a junction to the town. The supporters, upon the direction of their Member of Parliament, Bismarck Tetenyako, according to the New Patriotic Party chairman, Philip Kweku Mamfe, while speaking to Wontumi Movement Radio yesterday, demanded that the posters of President Akufo-Addo and the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, on the equipment be replaced with his image. He was reported to have said that part of his salaries were used to purchase the equipment. So 2 pickup vehicles obstructed the road, with some supporters threatening to burn down the equipment with the petrol they had in their possession. The Monday afternoon incident left in its trail 14 persons injured. One of them, the constituency chairman, who yesterday during his radio interview said that the district fire commander was visibly seen encouraging the NDC supporters to carry on. The NPP chairman therefore called on the headquarters of the Ghana National Fire Service to probe the incident because, according to him, a security officer should not be engaged in such a mess as unfolded in Asasewa. Talk about violence-free elections, and this isn't even about election. DRIP project and NDC and PPF started fighting over who...
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I'm sure the security apparatus are on the ground working. They should work things out quickly before it degenerates into something nasty. Because there's no point. If you are going to have elections, why are you fighting? Why are you destroying things that is meant for society? But if I don't also get a connection where it is branded in somebody's, pictures and all those things. All these things the security people must look at it very well and address it. These are things that the security must be on top. They've been doing this thing over the years, and they should get it right and make sure that the right thing is done. As for election, when you have violence or you have things of this nature, all that you need is that the security apparatus are able to do professional work, and then you stem the tide, and then we move on.
The Speaker of Parliament has named AICC for the emergency parliamentary meeting. You recall that that meeting was called by the Speaker following a request by the Majority Caucus, and they invoked that Article 112 of Ghana's Constitution. Let's get into the story a bit. The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, has designated the Dome at the Accra International Conference Center as the venue for the emergency parliamentary meeting scheduled for September 3rd, 2024. The decision comes as the Chamber of Parliament is currently undergoing renovation works, making it unavailable for the meeting. And this meeting was called by the Speaker following a request by the Majority Caucus, which invoked Article 112 of Ghana's Constitution and Standing Order 53, which empowers at least 15% of members of Parliament to make this call. And the meeting is expected to address pressing matters of national importance, including a financing agreement with the International Development Association, tax exemptions for beneficiaries under the 1D1F program, and several bills, including the Budget Bill 2023, the Environmental Protection Bill 2024. Earlier, the Speaker had rejected the request for an emergency meeting by the Majority Caucus, citing logistical challenges and a lack of urgency in the matters presented. But this is where we are now. So come September 3rd, 2024, they will have, Parliament will have that emergency meeting at the Dome at Accra International Conference Center. Has this been done before, Doc?
Oh, I have not heard of a thing of this nature, but these things could happen. But when they do, there must be the convention that exists, the necessary protocol to deal with this. So it shouldn't be a problem. All that they have to do is that when there are problems of this nature, they find a suitable place to hold their meetings. So if that's going to be the venue, fine. But the issue that has been raised is what is of interest to us. That is it in line with the rules of the game? That is Article 112 and the Standing Order 53. That is it. And if that satisfies the requirement for parliamentary work, why not?
Why not? Let's do some other stories now from the Daily Guide newspaper. ECG Accra East chases transformer wreckers. Leave our transformers alone. Let's get into that story. The Accra East region of the Electricity Company of Ghana is appealing to the public to assist in identifying and apprehending suspected thieves who've been vandalizing installed electrical transformers serving communities within the region, especially in the Dodowa areas. In a period of 2 months, the region has recorded the vandalism of 3 200 kVA and 1 50 kVA pole mounted transformers in some communities in Dodowa. Accra East Regional General Manager of ECG, Bismarck Otu, said to journalists in Accra yesterday that the incident occurred separately in various communities in Dodowa district between July and August 2024. And he explained that some unidentified persons usually push down pole-mounted electrical transformers and remove vital components from them. What are they doing with these? I know they're selling the parts to make some money, but is this what it has come to, Doc?
These are people who call them enemies of the open society. In a democracy, when you do things like that, you are described like that, enemies of the open society. Things the state have used resources, hard-earned resources to do. And you, because of your comfort, because of your selfish interest, you want to deprive everybody. I mean, you are not fit for this society, and the security will have to extend a hand of invitation to you. When they grab you, they should put you before court, because we don't do this. And I support the ECG to fight this battle. And we, as a society, must also support them, in addition with the support of the security apparatus, because it's becoming one too many. You look at even major roads that have been constructed with certain metals on them.
Yeah.
I will give an example like the atomic overpass. There are certain metals there that are used for the construction of them. People have removed them. And every time I drive, I ask myself, are these people Ghanaians? Are they human beings living in this country? That now they extend it to even gutters, the covers, they remove them. I nearly broke the tire of my car one day. I thought that, oh, this is a very safe place and all that. I realized there was it's an empty gutter here. There. I was parking very close to it, and I said, hey, we have people like this destroying this country. Look, we as a society must be up and standing and look for these people and hand them over to the police. I think they are not doing this country any good. They are nuisance to the society, and the society must find a way of getting them to the police. So please, all society, all the people of this country, help the ECD so that the ECD can also help us. And let us extend that support to also road construction. I mean, where metals are removed from major areas of the road and then gutters. We should ensure value for money. We struggle to get resources to do this. But if we sit down for people, miscreants, to get them and sell them to satisfy their selfish needs, then we have failed as a society. We must be up and shine our eyes on these things.
See something, say something. I mean, we know the economy is hard, but it doesn't come to this. These miscreants, Doc, like you described them, they need to pause and understand.
Thievery.
Yeah.
And anybody who goes on that route, we should be able to hand him over to the police.
In sports, Cat sought for 40-bed facility, and this is still the Daily Guide. Ghana Football Association President Keto Kreku yesterday broke ground for a 40-bed accommodation facility at the Ghanaman Soccer Center of Excellence in Pram Pram. He was supported by the Executive Council, Congress delegates, and former GFA executive. The ceremony highlights the association's commitment to upgrading the technical center to meet international standards. And this project, particularly funded by the 2022 World Cup allocation from the government, is a key part of the GFA's plan to elevate the center's infrastructure. They should tell us how much they're pumping into this, and they should be transparent with how the money that was received from the 2020 World Cup allocation.
One of the portions of our constitution is the preamble, which spells out some of the things we aspire to, some of the things we want to do. He said we believe in probity, we believe in accountability. So whatever we do as a society, our doings, our actions must reflect these canons in our constitution. And so, as you rightly pointed out, we need to know what amount of money has been spent on this. And this we need full disclosure. And then we need answers anytime we feel that there are questions that we want to ask, we demand answers. And once we do that, we should be able to lift up the game for ourselves. Because all these things are the tools of analysis that support the effort of government, for government to work and work very well for the satisfaction of society. So I will urge the society to demand accountability, and I also urge the society to support government so as for us to be on the same page. That is the way to when we're talking about governance. And it should be nothing but decisions that are very, very germane to the survival of the society.
Doc, I'll just do some quick headlines on the remaining papers, and then I'll come to you for your reflections. This is the Custodian newspaper. On the front page, of course, we got into the story of YEA graduates, 10,000 artisans. Mahama in 24-hour economy gaffe. Nightclub owners baffled over his day club proposal. That's the former president saying that discos and clubs would operate during the daytime as well. I think people are struggling to reconcile how that will work. Yoko sweeps 4 awards at IAA Confab. On the dry spell, government earmarks 8 billion Ghana cedis to support farmers. And that is the Custodian newspaper. Government to use NHF model for district housing projects. And you can see Kojo Nkrumah there. Let me just read a bit of the story and then I'll move on. Government has announced plans to replicate the successful construction model of the National Home Ownership Fund in its upcoming district housing project. And this is part of moves to accelerate the delivery of affordable housing across the country. Minister for Works and Housing, Mr. Kojo Nkrumah, announced this during his visit to the construction site for the NHF's Phase 3 project last week. Doc, I'll come to you briefly. The Ghanaian publisher on the front page, government to adopt, that's the same story, government to adopt NHF model for housing project, according to Kojo Nkrumah. Napo business moguls mourn with Bechie and Kandapa. 10,000 YEA artisans graduate. APN AAI to co-host Global Africa Forum in New York. And Nana Berima Owusu I slams chiefs engaging in partisan politics. The Accra Times, Mohammed's pledge to Ghana, the NDC government I lead will be about you. Speaker Bagbin champions sports development, commissioned state-of-the-art McCoy Sports Stadium in Nadoli. Doc, please give me a wrap of your thoughts. And then
I think I will touch on the district housing project. It is a good one, and I commend government to put in all effort to let it come into fruition. I want to support government to make it what a reality. It shouldn't be one of the talk shops.
Yeah.
It should be one of the workshops. I mean, you should work on the talk and bring it to fruition. And that also ties in the idea that we have a lot of affordable houses in the bush, bring them to life so as to ensure value for money. There are a lot we have spent on those projects, and they are in the bush as we speak today. We want to enjoy them. It is not meant for grass cutter and then other squirrels or other rodents. It's meant for human beings because we have put in our resources. Such projects are driven by state resources. So at the end of the day, we want to make full use of it. And I want government to direct its attention towards that. I wanted to see that in the MPP manifesto, but it was conspicuously missing. And if that is the case, maybe I didn't see it, but if it's there, they need to tie it to this so as to make that dream a reality. And that we can say that once we do that, we can say that we have ensured value for money. The support for agriculture or farmers in the area of agriculture, it's laudable. We want to see more because all that we do depend upon agriculture, food, and then we supply the industry with our produce and all that. If government shy away from supporting agriculture, we are bound to fail.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kwame Asante, Director for the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Thank you so much. Given the circumstances, thank you for making the best out of it and sharing your morning with us.
I wish you a good day.
You too. Right, so that's how we're wrapping up for the news review segment on the AM show. Ushering in AM Sports with Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Stay tuned.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi, a private legal practitioner. Kwame Danso Esquire has petitioned the Office of the Special Prosecutor to investigate Ghana's expenditure in this year's African Games. You will recall that last week, the Minister of Youth and Sports, Mustafa Yusuf, appeared before the Public Accounts Committee and revealed that his office paid the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation $3.6 million to broadcast the competition. And now, the legal practitioner says he believes loads more were spent on the event and has called on the Office of the Special Prosecutor to investigate.
Following from the revelations at Public Accounts Committee, we noticed that there are some discrepancies in the expenditure that was made by the ministry, particularly that of the GBC, and the amount we spent on food and accreditation for media houses. And so today, our mission here is very simple. We came to the Office of the Special Prosecution to open an investigation into what went into the $245 million for the purposes of organizing the 13th All-African Games. So the content is to invite the Office of the Special Prosecution to open an investigation into what went into the expenditure, particularly because we suspect that there are some companies that are close to persons who are politically exposed, or the company that belongs to persons who are politically exposed. Also, we have noticed that there are some procurement breaches in the selection of the persons who were given, the jobs to organize, first for the All-African Games, and also in selecting the companies for the broadcasting of the event and the food and etc. So that is why we came today to invite the office to investigate into what went into the $245 billion that was used for the purpose of organizing the All-African Games. I think that every Ghanaian citizen is interested in accountability. And I want to believe that the office was set up for the purposes of ensuring expeditious accountability. And so I would not want to give them any ultimatum, but I know that they have the interests of the good people at heart, and they must do what is right by their conscience, and they must do what is right by the laws of this country. To that end, I expect that they get back to us as soon as possible so that we can be assured that they are interested in investigating this matter and bringing finality to it. Okay. Very confident in the Office of the Special Prosecution. I think that we have a plethora of examples to cite about the competencies of the Office of the Special Prosecution, and also the commitment and the patriotism demonstrated by the Special Prosecutor himself, Kisié Jabin. Because we do know that the Special Prosecutor was appointed by this government, but has been very instrumental in investigating matters of corruption in this particular administration. To this end, I'm very confident, highly so, that the Office of the Special Prosecution will discharge its lawful obligation to the good people of Ghana by investigating this matter and bringing accountability to the doorsteps of the Ghanaian people.
President of the Ghana Football Association, Kurt Okraku, says that his office will continue to investigate in refereeing and also ensure that supporters are brought back to patronize Ghana Premier League football. Speaking at the Ghana Football Association Congress held in Pram, Kurt Okraku says that within the next 12 months, his office will be doing the right things to ensure that Ghana football is brought back to its heydays.
We need to look forward. We recognize that our game has areas for improvement, and the Executive Council and my good self are committed to addressing all the identified problems in our football ecosystem. Indeed, our focus for the next 12 months will be, like I said earlier, on consolidating our gains and addressing identified weaknesses as we work to successfully win the 12th man. The 12th man is the fan, our supporter, your supporter. Our key objectives for the year would include the following: bring back the 12th man, that's our fans, by creating an attractive product and enhancing fan engagement, focusing on youth development through initiatives like the Inter-District U15 and U17 festivals, continue to invest in referees through training and development programs, improving coach education, and of course, enhancing engagement with all key stakeholders to foster a sense of unity and cooperation. To achieve these objectives, we will implement various strategies, including enhancing club licensing standards to ensure compliance with CAF and FIFA regulations,
investing in marketing and promotions to increase visibility and attract new fans, introducing new TV and radio partnerships to expand our reach, enhancing security arrangements at games to ensure safety and security, and implementing mandatory pre- and post-match press conferences at all levels in the top 3 of our football system. We will continue to invest in our infrastructure, including the commencement of the construction of a 40-bed ultra-modern accommodation facility over here in Gadaman. We will also begin the construction of 2 new natural grass pitches through the kind courtesy of FIFA.
Former chairman of the Ghana Football Association, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, says that he is impressed with the renovation works done by Keto Kriko's administration at the Ghana Soccer Center of Excellence.
The physical structure impressed me a lot because when we started this project, it was just a small project that we thought will help the football association itself and football in Ghana. And the reason why I was very much impressed was that our present headquarters where we are in Accra was also started under my jurisdiction. And we were able to put us a first house or first building there. And then when I left, Kwesi Nyantechi came and did very well by continuing and turning it into a first-class office, as you see it now. This also has been very impressive when I got in. I came in very early in the morning, and I was impressed with the surroundings, the buildings, the cleanliness, which to me is very important. And I had the opportunity also to commission the project with the president of the association. On the whole, I have to say, it's an impressive, congress, and I wish them very good luck.
"52-year-old Kennedy Atipo is an inland fisherman and a community leader in Anlo Beach. Like him, many of the elders in this town have their basic education in the Anlo Beach Methodist Primary School.
We do play volley and football inside here. When it is time of game, the athletics, we do all here.
This school has been raised down by rising sea tides. The over 500 students have been moved into makeshift structures put up by the community members.
This school in which we are now, it is in the middle of the town. There's other houses up front there. Those houses in the sea now. And then from there, you walk through a thick coconut plantation before you walk on the sandbar and then to the shore.
Like many coastal towns, Anlo Beach, originally known as Simakeji in the western region, suffers from rising sea levels. This town, which used to be a cradle of fishing activities, is now a pale shadow of its former self. The last high tide happened 4 months ago and carried with it many homes and key community structures, including the school, which was built in the 1950s by the community members themselves. Now, the children have to walk between 10 to 20 minutes to the makeshift school, which in itself has a myriad of issues.
They have no cement in the classroom, so if teacher is teaching, when you have closed, we all be dirty.
When I come to school, if I am learning, the JHS people, they are
disturb me. So if the teacher is saying that thing, I can't hear it.
Robert Ansa has been teaching at the school for over 13 years.
When I came here 2010 and I started teaching, the school is in order. Every structure is there. We even have this caging there. So everything was normal. Classroom, we have our teaching and learning materials, everything, we paste. But when we came here, the place is open, uncompleted. Where do you use, it must be classroom printed material or print-rich materials, but you don't have them.
Grace Senanu, a fishmonger, has 2 young boys, both of whom used to attend the Anlo Beach Methodist Primary School. She is thankful that the destruction of the school happened at night, but cannot hide her grief. Christian Havon grew up in Anlo Beach. He attended the Methodist Primary School, and his child is there now. His voice echoes the plea of the entire community.
Completely. For example, Christmas time, they refuse to go. So our sea must be different.
Approximately 25% of Ghana's population lives in coastal areas. Between 2005 and 2017, rising sea levels claimed almost 37% of the nation's land area. The World Bank Group's Country Climate and Development Report for Ghana estimates that at least 1 million more people could fall into poverty due to climate change. Anlo Beach has only one ask: support to complete and refurbish their new school as they wait for the government to build a sea defense wall for them.
You're still watching the AM show right here on Joy News, your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. For our big stories this morning, we take a look at Ghana's extractive industry and the dominance of foreigners and how it has impacted our ability to maximize these resources, and how the manifestos of the 2 major political parties address what has become an existential problem that we are facing. And I mean, we have a great panel with us this morning. We have the co-chair of Ghana Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, that is Dr. Steve Mantiel. We also have Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe, convener for Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining, as well as Godwin Ama, the General Secretary, Association of Small-Scale Miners. But like I said, both major political parties understand that there's a lot more for us to do in the fight against galamsey and the influx of foreigners in that sector. So let's take a look. Let's quickly run through what both political parties, I'm talking about the NDC and the NPP, the flag bearers, are proposing to do if given the mandate come December 7, 2024, what they intend to do in their fight or the approach to eliminate this canker that we're experiencing. So first, let's start with Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. He says that the next NPP government will invest in the geological investigation of mineralized zones from 2025 to 2029 to de-risk small-scale mining. He also says that the next NPP government will establish a minerals development bank to finance viable local mineral projects. In addition to that, the next NPP government will ensure the application, processing, and licensing of small-scale mining ends and the Minerals Commission. And then he says the next NPP government, his government, God willing, will reduce withholding tax for small-scale gold exports to 1% to discourage smuggling and increase tax receipts. These are his promises, and he also says that they would establish an integrated traceability system for mineral resources, and that is how they intend to approach the fight against galamsey. They would also scale up the use of the mercury-free gold catcher machine technology for profitable and sustainable small-scale mining. And that is coming from the camp of the New Patriotic Party. What are the NDC proposing? Well, I mean, in addition to that, they're also saying that they will aggregate and utilize the reclamation fund to implement land reclamation programs. That is still on the NPP government. And so now we take a look. They're also saying that they are going to adequately resource the PMMC to establish more gold buying centers as small-scale mine gates to purchase all mined gold. Now, let's look at what the NDC government or the next NDC government is proposing in the fight against galamsey. They want to wage a war. Former President John Dramani Mahama says he wants to wage a war against the use of cocoa farms for illegal mining activities, that is galamsey, and reclaim degraded cocoa lands. How does he intend to do this? He also says he would ensure that mining operations are not conducted in unapproved areas, such as water bodies, and that the concession holders rehabilitate impacted areas. And I think that is one of our major problems. After we dig and find the resources, we just leave the land to its fate. He also says that he will facilitate equipment financing and mining inputs, research and standardization, gold recovery optimization, and post-mining land reclamation services. And this is also important. In addition, he wants to set up a Ghana Gold Board, like Cocoa Board, but for gold. So Gold Board to regulate the small-scale mining sector. This board will restructure the small-scale mining sector. And that's still on the NDC's promises on what they want to do. They also say that they want to decentralize regulatory and licensing processes for artisanal miners and implement a tree-for-life reforestation policy with cocoa, palm, and rubber. In addition to that, the next NDC government will, that's continuing from there, in a Blue Water Initiative, and heal and harness the environment by turning areas degraded by illegal mining into hubs of economic and ecological recovery. We are going to discuss this with our panel, but it's important to know that the problem is, we have minerals in this country, and much like fire, it has good sides or advantages and disadvantages. Gold has done so much to propel our development agenda. But why is it that the same thing, the same mineral that is giving us great feats or great, things to look forward to is causing us more harm? Is it causing us more harm than good? That's the question I want to be asking. But let's get on Zoom now and speak to our panel. First, let me start with Dr. Steve Mantiao, and he's co-chair of Ghana Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative. Doc, thank you so much for joining the conversation. Is that Dr. Steve Mantiao?
Yes.
Great.
My pleasure to be on this panel.
Okay. Do I hear Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe as well?
Yes, please.
Great. And then we also have Godwin Ama, the General Secretary, Association of Small Scale Miners, also with us.
Hello.
Great. So let's begin. I'll start with you, Dr. Steve Mantiao. Doc, so there's a growing trend of Chinese companies taking over Ghanaian-owned companies, and there are rumors that a Chinese company is even preparing to take over the mines at Achim with a growing presence of Chinese firms. What does the future really hold for the Ghanaian-owned mining operations in Ghana?
Well, thank you very much. And I will begin by making the point that all over the world, countries that have been able to optimize value from their natural resources are those countries that are not only playing the role of spectators, but are actively involved in the extraction, either directly or indirectly. Directly in the sense of empowering local enterprises to be involved in the extraction, or indirectly by buying stake in profitable mines, so that beyond the fiscal collections, you are able to also derive additional revenue from dividend payments. Secondly, I need to emphasize the fact that there's a certain similarity in the approach to dealing with the illegalities in the small-scale mining sector by both parties, which which I'm very pleased with. You can see a gradual shift from the use of brute force to now providing incentives for miners to want to formalize. It is when they formalize that we'll be able to know where they operate and regulate their activities. However, I think we may have to unpack the policy propositions that the various parties have made. Because what we are seeing is just broad, sweeping policy commitments. I think when we unpack them, we'll be able to understand whether or not they are feasible or not. Currently, as we speak, almost all the small-scale miners operating in Ghana today, I mean about 90 or more than 90% of them are operating illegally because the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources is not signing applications for license renewals. And this actually is not good enough because it does not provide incentive for new applicants to want to even go and attempt to formalize their activities. And that is why I like one of the parties, I think, committed to decentralizing the licensing process so that the key stakeholders on the ground, including the regulatory bodies, are the ones that actually process the licenses at the point where the mining activity takes place. It makes it easy because one person, one minister cannot sign the thousands upon thousands of applications that are referred to him or her every now and then by the Minerals Commission for signing. And so I think it makes sense to decentralize and make sure that we fast-track applications so that that serves as incentive for illegal miners to want to now come into mainstream and be regulated. There are other things that we can talk about as we move on in this conversation.
Right. Let me go to Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe. He's convener for Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining. First, I want to get a sense of your thoughts. What do you think are the primary factors driving the increasing dominance of foreign firms in Ghana's mining sector, Doc?
Well, I'm not too sure whether it is a new thing. We allowed, when the colonialists came in, to outlaw what we Ghanaians did. And it was till the PNDC era that we then allowed small-scale mining to begin, and we then brought in Ghanaians to also do it. So the initial craze was more the Europeans and the Australians and the Americans doing it, and now we're beginning to see Chinese into it. For me, I'm not too worried if the foreigners are coming in formally, though that also has challenge. And I agree with Dr. Mantial that the only way in which Ghana would be able to develop is when we have Ghanaians owning the heights of industry. And so we cannot continue to play subservience and just depend on royalties and taxation. And I hear some of the proponents of keeping on doing that, saying that exploration is risky and all of that. But we need to invest into so that we can get stakes out of it. We would own how this goes. But the challenge with the Chinese is their involvement in the illegal mining. And that's, you look at the data, right from when we had Operation Vanguard going on, there's a lot of Chinese who are involved in it. And to make the situation worse currently is the fact that when arrests are made, and there are quite a lot of arrests that have been made, if you consider even those who've gone into the forest, who have over 200 arrests that are pending in the court. The challenge is that we are unable to prosecute the Chinese. And I think there's some laxity in there. You had a situation where a prosecutor goes to court and tells the judges that the two Chinese who are being prosecuted have been cremated. And, fortunately for us, this judge stuck to his grounds and asked that the ashes should be produced. Now this prosecutor comes back to come and say that, he was deceived by the sureties. And these people who are supposed to be ashes are now walking around the Wasa area, and they have to be produced. And then that's one bad bit of it. But there was a policeman involved in that, Ghanaian, who is being prosecuted. Then you also have the worst one, where the Chinese, when they come to most of these courts, we get the excuse that there are no interpreters to help with the case. And most of them are left. And so we need to deal with these various pockets of the issues when it comes to the issues of foreign involvement. And we need to definitely, and again, I agree with Dr. Mantio when he talks about the fact that when you look into the manifestos of both parties, they seem to want to, put Ghanaian center stage and make sure that we can regularize, the small scale mining and make it more sustainable. But one of the things I see missing in all of them, their manifestos, is the fact that one of the major challenges is the lack of regulatory independence, so far as the sector is concerned. And it is important that if we are going to really get the sector to work properly, then we need to provide regulatory independence, so we allow the professionals to do their work and not get the politicians involved. That's why I also agree with Dr. Mantio about the need to decentralize. But beyond decentralizing, we should make sure that decisions that are taken by the regulatory body, not politically allied persons. Another thing that I also find missing in both manifestos is dealing with those who currently have done wrong. You have the likes of Akonta Mining, you have the likes of the former Bosome Frenho, MC, who confessed to an illegality. Nothing has been done to him. I don't see that. They will not follow the example of Otufo, who recently has destroyed some chiefs because they were found culpable. So we get to the point where we ensure that those who wrong us are punished. All these things, lofty ideas they put on paper, really would come to naught.
Okay, we'll get into, dissecting what each party is proposing. But let me hear now from the General Secretary of the Association of Small-Scale Miners, and that's Godwin Ama. Godwin, thank you for joining the conversation. So I want to hear from you the conditions, or what the conditions are like for Ghanaian workers employed by Chinese-managed mining companies. What are their lives like? Do I have Godwin online with me? Godwin, if you can hear me, please unmute.
Yes. Good morning.
Great. Morning, yeah.
Yeah.
So help us paint the picture of, you got the question?
No, my line went off. I think I'm having challenge with the internet here. So if
while we have you here, we will make the most of it. So help us paint the picture of the lives or the living conditions or working conditions of Ghanaians working in Chinese or foreign-owned mining companies.
First of all, I'll say good morning to all your listeners and then the co-panelists. It will be very difficult for me to answer that because I don't know how the living conditions are in these large-scale operations and then the small-scale operations because we've not done any sort of visit and also to understand the processes that they go through. But if you look at generally the operations of the Chinese, especially or foreigners, especially within the illegal sector, like the illegal mining operations, you realize that they don't even follow any law at all. They are working in forest reserves, which they are supported by some politically exposed people. And the issue of health and safety is not there. Land reclamation is not there. Everything done in those areas, if you go and then watch, you realize that human rights abuses are also there. But as a matter of fact, I cannot really pinpoint that A, B, C is done. So what we hear from the media reportage and also some of the miners or some of the communities that these illegal operations are taking place. But generally, illegal operations realize that because there's no sustainability, they don't really invest into health and safety and all the standards that needs to be done when mining formally. So that's what I can say.
Right.
But when I look at the money, okay, I just want to comment on the policy direction from both political parties in terms of their manifesto, and I can say that when you look at it, they are almost similar, but we need to understand how they are going to implement these policies. For instance, looking at geological data that the NPP says, how much is it going to cost the states? How are they going to get a fund? And if the concessions, we get the prospected land, how is it going to be distributed to the small-scale miners, but not people who are connected to the things that we should understand, also able to get access to funding in terms of finance. And I look at the NPP, the NDC also, they are looking at financing the small-scale mining sector. You cannot finance without having a proper data. Once you have the geological data, you can really plan and demonstrate that the minerals that you have there, you have that value. So if you don't have that value, then at the end of the day, no bank will be interested. And then the NDC, the NPP is also saying that they are looking at setting up a bank that will support and local, and if you underline the word, they say viable projects. So you can get viability when you also have the geological data. If you don't have any geological data to demonstrate, then there's no viability of the project, because you know how much it will cost you to even unearth the minerals that is underground and all that. So it's very important that, as we said, we unpack them and then they demonstrate how they are going to implement some of these policies. Then you look at another area of the gold board, setting up of Ghana Gold Board. If you are setting up Ghana Gold Board, remember early 2017, there was a committee that was set by the NPP government, the Interministerial Committee, which has the same mandate of regularizing the small-scale mining sector. At the end of the day, what happened? They couldn't do what is expected of them, and there were allegations of them not even being accountable with resources that were given to them and all that. So if you set the gold board, what would be the role of the Minerals Commission? What would be the role of the EPA and all that? I think we should resource the Minerals Commission, the EPA, and then the police service, the security service, to be able to help regulate the sector than us setting another board which is coming to do the same work that the Minerals Commission and the EPA is already doing.
Hold for me, Godwin. Godwin, hold for me. We will actually get surgical with both proposals, but let me throw this question to Dr. Steve Mantiel. Doc, do you think that the Minerals Commission is equipped to manage this sector and handle all the issues that are coming out of it?
No, I don't. I do not think so. I think they are constrained by lack of adequate personnel. I'm currently speaking to you from the field, Bole to be precise. And here we have a Minerals Commission office stationed at, WA, being responsible for Bole in Savannah region and nearby regions. I mean, that is not the kind of staffing or personnel presence at the mining areas that we need to be able to control and better regulate the activity. I think Bole, there's so much mining going on in Bole, in places like Tinga, Daklupe, Dollar Power and all that, which requires that we have a Minerals Commission office here in Bole. And then you can have Minerals Commission in other places, Upper West, Upper East, and so you reduce the distances. Look, traveling from here alone to even Dollar Power, we are in Bole, and Dollar Power is in the Bole district, but traveling from here to Dollar Power will take you not less than 2 hours. So the distances are quite huge, and so we need more staff, more personnel on the ground to better regulate. But having said that, let me quickly respond directly to why we have increased foreign presence in our small-scale mining sector. It's a function of lack of credit facilities for local miners to finance their operations. So it is not just the Chinese here in Bole. We find Burkinabes, Malians, Nigerians, and all that who are here financing the operations of the the illegal miners. They call them sponsors. They bring the money and they have a certain informal arrangement with you that whatever gold you produce, you sell to them. And when they get the gold, they do not actually export the gold through approved channels, which is Kotoka International Airport. They are so close to the border here, Ivory Coast, Burkina. So they cross the border with it, and we lose all the revenue opportunities associated with the activity. It is not surprising, therefore, when I think it was the current presidential candidate of the MPP visited Dubai, and we found out that there's a huge gap of about $5 billion of unaccounted for gold export in this country. Dubai claimed they had imported $7 billion worth of gold from Ghana, when the Bank of Ghana records show that we only exported $2 billion, which means $5 billion worth of gold is going out of this country through illegal or unapproved channels. And we need to be able to address this. Otherwise, the foreigners will continue to dominate and get all the benefits, and we get the pittance. Right.
Let me come to Dr. Ashigbe. Doc, I mean, do we actually have measures currently being taken to curb the environmental impact of, illegal mining? I've chanced on a research paper from the University of Ghana, which says the impact of Chinese involvement in Ghana's mining sector. Yeah, from the University of Ghana. And then there was another one, environmental degradation from illegal mining, the role of Chinese nationals, and that's from the University of Cape Coast. And these studies, they highlight the economic, environmental, social impact of Chinese involvement in Ghana's mining sector. And this isn't the first time we're seeing this. This has been going on for decades. Are there actually any measures being taken? And are these measures proving effective? Before we get into the manifestos.
Well, thank you very much. The evidence is, is what is right in front of us. When you look at the level of turbidity of our waters, when you look at the level of destruction of our forest, you look at the fact that, now you have the level of renal diseases on the right. You look at people sitting in their homes in Konongo, going to, nature's call in the morning and the whole place caving in. If you drive around now, the main roads, it's not, you don't need to go really deep into the forest to go find it. When you look at a river like Brim that my colleague, the small-scale miners, had spent a lot of effort trying to clean up, and now we have, we are getting all of that back again. So our challenge again, and so I see some of the parties talk about, new laws, it is just basically, we have all the laws, the policies, the directives in place. It is the issue about enforcing them. As we speak, the Draw River, Forest Reserve has been hit by some illegal miners that we don't know that Erastus has uncovered. But you look at the footage of Erastus, and this is just a journalist. He's been able to go there. He finds containers that have been put there. He finds excavators that have been put there. So, when my colleague talks about the fact that you need to strengthen the Minerals Commission, you need to empower the EPA, the police force, and let them work independently. So, and the history has been like that. Anytime you get close to an election, we abandon the fight against the illegality. And so, and because there are politically exposed persons who are involved in that, don't be so. If those in the fields know that nothing will happen to the politically exposed persons, why would they also stop? So yes, the damage that we are doing to our environment is serious, and we really are not doing anything to work at it, and we need to find ways to stop it.
To what each party is proposing. Now, the NPP is focused on, more stricter regulations and oversights to ensure that these foreign entities comply with Ghana's laws. The NDC, on the other hand, is proposing a more radical approach. They want to include a review, potential revocation of licenses and foreign companies that are not benefiting Ghana sufficiently. Which of these promises actually holds the keys to Ghana's quest for, a liberation from the effects of galamsey on our environment? I'll start with you, Dr. Mantiel.
Well, I think we need both measures. it should be a carrot and stick approach. As Dr. Ashigbe mentioned, if there have been some fraudulent activities in the past, they ought to be investigated and punished. While at the same time we provide incentives for those who are doing the right stuff to continue doing the right stuff. I happen to have served on a panel that evaluated the end of project report of the natural resource governance, natural resource and environmental governance program, a World Bank supported program that was implemented in this country over a period of 10 years. And the end of project evaluation report concluded that over the period that we implement, sunk millions of dollars into trying to weed out illegalities in the forestry and the mining sector. These illegalities more than doubled. And the reason they doubled, according to the end of project report, was vested interest. Vested interest in the sense that those who have the power to check the illegalities were themselves the perpetrators of the illegalities. So if, for instance, there have been infractions of the law and an NDC government investigation leads to some politically exposed person and their involvement, of course, I think Professor Frimpong Boateng's expose or revelations on some of the illegalities that have gone on ought to be looked into, and those who may have actually offended the law will have to be punished. So I think we need a combination of tools to be able to ensure that we are able to mine sustainably and for the benefit of the larger Ghanaian population.
Doc, will you say, therefore, that what we really need is a political will to actually fight this menace?
Exactly. And for me, I get worried because the political class in this country are the perpetrators. And I say this without any equivocation. They are the perpetrators of the illegal mining. And they will tell you, party, yensika. So you need a leader who has the political will that I am not going to seek benefits from illegal mining for my party, that I'm going all out to ensure that I give the law enforcement agencies, the regulators, the space to be able to enforce the law. That is the only way. You don't want situations where politicians will be calling the CEO of the Minerals Commission that these are my boys, so please leave them. So you want political will is very important, but we also need a carrot approach where those who are doing the right things are supported. I'm not saying this because Godwin Ama is on this line, but this gentleman is doing so much, including even undertaking corporate social responsibility projects, building schools in areas where he operates. That people need to be identified and showcased as best examples of how small-scale mining can be done, and must be supported by the state to expand the operations. And because all the benefits they derive for themselves are retained within the Ghanaian economy. They are not expatriated in the form of profit to anywhere.
Oh, thank you, Doc. Let me go to Dr. Ashigbe now. Doc, so there are rumors. I mean, some of these reports, and I tried to look for them. I found a report on another network that detail how, you know, there's some potential takeover of the Achim mines. And these manifestos don't necessarily specifically address how we can actually truncate the influence or the impact of, you know, the activities of these foreigners. What do we do as a nation? And how do we influence or make, you know, both political parties include what we really need in their plans going forward, since they've already launched both manifestos? What do we do about this? I mean, the potential takeover of the Achim mine is a serious issue. What do we do?
Well, so thank you very much. So if you look into, again, so I think Dr. Mantia mentioned it, and then Godwin also mentioned it. The fact that both parties seem to want to regularize and make Ghanaians. Yes, you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, okay, so more parties would seem to want to make sure that Ghanaians take center stage. You take, for example, the MPP manifesto talks about to usher in a golden age of Ghanaian-owned small-scale mining for wealth and job creation. They speak about that. But I'll give you a typical, and they tell you that so if you've not seen that before, look at sleep.
Yeah.
Look at the way we've handled the issues of community mining. Community mining virtually have been taken over by politically exposed persons. So it is important that we go with, as Gordon said, and then Dr. Mantiel said, we need to unpack and look at how this is going to be done. The level of transparency that is required to ensure that we get Ghanaians to take center stage. And it's important. For me, it is really important that, these takeovers like that, we have a strategy as a nation to say, you have the likes of Godwin and some of the small-scale miners who have demonstrated that they are able to do it well. What stops any government from saying that I am going to pull all of these small-scale miners who have demonstrated based on their mining, based on their output, based on their expertise, and say, I am going to bring them together and then support them. And the point that Dr. Mantia makes about the fact the unavailability of financing and credit to, these Ghanaians. And so because of that, we play second fiddle to the foreigners. Bring them together, provide them that credit, and ensure that then they can, working together with them, make sure that the communities themselves, also have a stake in the business. So not only have you brought Ghanaians who have the wherewithal, have the expertise, the technical knowledge to be able to mine them, not only have you brought Ghanaian banks or even the development bank that have been created to be able to provide some easy financing, you also are going to also say that part of the equity of this business, you are going to put in the hands of the communities. And in there as well, you have a very transparent way in which you're doing that. Everybody sees what is going on, and get Ghanaians to now start pushing and saying that this particular mine, let's see how you do it. And then we replicate it. And that's why it's also going to be really very important when we find, and I think that point that the MPP makes about the geological survey, you find out that the Ghana Institute of Engineering, when they also did they also asked that. If you look at the CSO's environmental manifesto as well, they also raised that. Till we get to the point where we actually have have a geologically surveyed our resources in this country. And again, government should find money, and the money can be found from the gold, to ensure that we actually do that, so that when these projects are going, you are very sure that it is bankable, and then you do them very openly. The challenge, the challenge for all.
It appears
to be able to fight this are themselves benefiting from this. I would also say, to that equivocation, that our political parties are funded by this illegal money. It's the reason why it's difficult for us to be able to deal with it. So your question, again, if we're going to be able to stop this, it would require very strategic intentions. And then we need leaders who are thinking beyond their parochial interests and saying that it does not matter where, any of these small-scale miners belong, whether they are NDC, we are bringing them together, and we do it so openly that everybody can go online and be able to check who are the owners of this. The communities can see what it is, and also that when you go into the communities, it's not just the chiefs that are taking advantage of it, but everybody can see it, and they can see what it is that is being done with it. So transparency is really going to be important, as we also make sure that the regulators themselves are also independent of the political establishment. And then we also make sure that we put national interest high above what everybody else wants to get into their pockets.
Right. And I found the documents I was looking for. It's reports from Business and Financial Times suggesting that Chinese investors have shown interest in acquiring stakes in several major mining operations, including the Achim mines. And while there has been no official confirmation, the possibility has sparked debate about the future of Ghana's strategic resources. And there's a quote here from a mining sector analyst. And it says, if the Achim mines fall under Chinese control, it could mark a turning point in the ownership of Ghana's most valuable mining assets. Godwin, how do you feel about this? Do you know for a fact if these Chinese investors have actually expressed interest in acquiring this Akyem mine?
Yeah, first of all, you know, the laws allow foreigners to participate in the mining sector. So if, for instance, I have a mine and I want to bring in an investor shows interest, I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Okay.
Because already that concession or that property is owned by a foreign entity already. And if the Chinese have expressed interest into it, I don't think it should bring any issue at all because it's already owned by a large-scale operator who is also a foreign entity. So the Chinese presence, when they are doing it formally, when they are investing into operations formally, I don't think there's anything wrong. But once they are mining illegally, because you have, even when you look at most of the quarries in this country now, it's being operated by the Chinese because of access to finance. They have the finance, they go into the quarry. So most of the quarries that you see being owned by Ghanaians now have been taken up by the Chinese.
But Godwin, I think the question is this not of any consequence to us? Or how is this affecting local economies?
Once you have foreign dominating your mining sector, then the real benefit doesn't come to the country. What you get is only your taxes. So we need to look at the policy reforms that we have. To what extent are we going to allow foreign domination in our mines? And how are we going to benefit, even if the foreigners are in there? By looking at the whole supply chain. How do we position ourselves as a country? If we don't do that, then at the end of the day, you have the foreign domination, all the profits will go because everything is exported raw.
Right.
If you look at the gold, whatever is exported raw. So what is the value for the country? Is it only the royalties that we take or the taxes? So we need to have a radical approach in looking at it and say, look, if you are mining in this country, then refine your gold in here. Maybe X percentage should be refined, and then it's supplied to our local jewelers. Because as we speak now, the local jewelers, most of them are getting their gold from Dubai. If the small-scale miners are not giving, they just buy their gold from Dubai because you not gold that is standardized, that is refined, so that you'll be able to get a proper jewelry done that you can hallmark. But if you don't have it and all your gold is going out and it's not refined, then at the end of the day, what is the value? So we should understand that once we allow foreigners to take over our mines, we will not get it. It will be like the South African issue where you have Joburg, people in South Africa investing and developing their communities. You have small-scale miners mining and developing the communities that they are in. But if you have the large operations being dominated by foreigners, then at the end of the day, there will be that capital flight. So we need to look at it and support Ghanaians. The manifestos should show clearly how, or consciously, how they will help the small-scale miners to move from the small to medium or large scale. It should be a deliberate government policy. When you are able to do that, then you create a lot of millionaires or billionaires within the mining space, and you retain the value in your country because they are not going to take the money elsewhere. But if there's no conscious way of developing the small-scale mining sector to grow, then at the end of the day, it will be a joke because everything will be in the hands of foreigners. Then at the end of the day, they will use those resources to develop their countries, and we'll go back there to do what? To ask them for change.
I know, right?
And you see a lot of youth are traveling outside through the Mediterranean Sea, these treacherous or perilous borders just to get to Europe. Why is it so? Because they are following where their resources are. The resources, when they are taken raw and value is not added, there are no job opportunities. So these young men and women will travel where their minerals have been taken to search for jobs and look at the dangers that they go through before they get to even Europe. Where still they go and they don't get the jobs that they need. So we need to look at it as a country and see how best we'll be able to retain value and also to let Ghanaians dominate in the mining space.
Let me throw that to Dr. Mantiel. Doc, so what's your reflection on the consequence, I mean, in terms of revenue generation for the country, if this consistent, growing presence of whether Chinese or foreign influence in our mining sector, what is the consequence of it to our economy?
As we speak, the greatest revenue contribution in the mining sector comes from large-scale operations. Okay. The small-scale operators contribute less than 2%.
Oh.
And this is the challenge we need to address. We need to flip it over. If government will provide support to small-scale operators, they can expand their activities, generate more revenue, and maybe pay more to the state. And whatever they retain also remain in country. And so in all activities, as I speak now, I'm about to enter a meeting with the law enforcement agencies, the regulators here in Bali. We are looking at what reforms are necessary to ensure that Ghanaians are able to produce more gold, sell to regularized or properly licensed buyers, exported through the proper channels so the state can take its due, and then we generate the needed revenues to finance our national development. So there's a whole revolution that needs to happen in the way we manage the mining sector. We shouldn't, again, on the question of Achim Mine was not owned by Ghanaians. It was owned by foreigners. So when we approach the conversation the way you did, then it creates the impression that we are okay with Americans, we are okay with all other foreigners except the Chinese. No, we are not against the Chinese. What we are in support of is for Ghana to be an active participant, an active player. And I see no reason why the Mineral Income Investment Fund, which was set up to optimize our value in the mining sector, will not consider using the massive resources at its disposal to buy into Achim Mine, if not to even buy the entire mine, to buy a stake in it, so that part of the profit to be derived from this mine will be retained within the national economy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Matthew. Dr. Ashigbe, let me throw a similar question to you. What does the future really hold for Ghana's mining sector if the current trend of foreigners, not specifically Chinese, but foreigners, the dominance they have continues?
I think, well, that point has been made. That's how we have the reason, and Gordon makes the reference to Johannesburg, and then so if you compare that to Obuasi. You know, we've been mining gold as long as, Obuasi has been mining in Johannesburg. The only reason why Johannesburg is as developed as it is the fact that the monies were raised in Johannesburg to do the mining and retain there and develop there. But we, the 100 years, we got foreigners to come in here. They will give us some patents, but they take the real money out and they also do not add value to it. So I think I see it in some of the manifestos about the fact that, we're going to do some refinery, but it is really going to be, we will need to be very strategic about the fact that we've done this over how many years? How many years have we not been mining gold? Let's show the $1 millionaire, $1 millionaire, $1 billionaire that we've created out of it. We've not been deliberate to do that because we've allowed ourselves to be, to be split. And unfortunately, with this NDC MPP thing, it's even become worse. But the time has come for us, especially the citizens who hold sovereignty, to say that we need, and I like the word revolution, we need a radical change. There has to be a metanoia, a complete change of heart, of the fact that the way we have done mining all this while should not be the way we ought to go. We now have to move to the point where Ghanaians are at the point of ownership. And when we define Ghanaians, we should define it broadly. Ghanaians home and abroad. Where are the resources that we have? Where are the people who know it? How do we bring them together? And it has to be strategic. And I agree. The myth, funds, for example, could be brought in. And also for those who own the land, instead of they wanting to now say that I'm giving the land out to get royalty, they should give the land as equity into whatever it is that is going to do. So the value, the future value of whatever it is, the people who own the land should not say they want the money now. They should also put it in as investment. The likes of Gordon and Co, who have demonstrated, and that's the word, demonstrated, and it should be done openly so that we all can see it and say that these people, this is the evidence that they've demonstrated. They are brought together, and then we also can get Ghanaian banks, put Ghanaian banks also together to say, because we want to do something that is deliberately Ghanaian, we're bringing you here to then take it, so that when it comes to the interest on the loans that will even be given, it goes back to Ghanaian banks. If it comes into, the owners of the land, when the dividends start coming in, the returns start coming in, they also get it. If it comes to who they sell the gold to, again, it's deliberately to Ghanaians. And we can acquire the knowledge, we can acquire the resources. But the ownership, it's important that the ownership belongs to us. And we start producing, people who have actually made it, and then ensure that a lot of the resources also go into the communities that are made poorer. Because that's what we've done in Ghana.
Right.
Everywhere we mine, the people are made poorer, and those who, living in cities outside the place are the people who benefit. So when we start talking about ownership, we need to even disaggregate that and say the people in the communities, how do they also benefit? And make sure that we are very deliberate about that and have a policy change. Unfortunately, both parties do not, they've mentioned that, but we really need to hear them say, how are they going to get Ghanaians to take center stage and dominate? And I like that word Gordon used, dominate the sector, and not only gold. He talked about the issues around those quarries and all of that, the lithium and all the new minerals that are coming as well, the industrial minerals. We need to be deliberate to make sure that happens.
Let's do, we are about wrapping up, but let's do a comparative and assessment to help our audience, understand what each party is proposing. So between the establishment of the Gold Board to ensuring that mining operations are regularized and, waging war against the use of cocoa farms for illegal mining, galamsey, and reclaiming degraded land, as against adequately resourcing the PMMC, that is according to Baumia, and aggregation and utilization of the reclamation fund to implement the land reclamation process, scale up the use of mercury-free gold, reducing withholding tax for small-scale gold export. Between these two manifestos, specifically on the fight against galamsey and the issues that are coming up in the mining sector, which of these is superior and meets us at the point of our needs, even if it needs some modifications along the line as we speak? Which of these manifestos is superior? Let me start with you, Dr. Chigweje. I just heard from you, so Dr. Mantiel, which of these manifestos between the NPP and the NDC is superior and meets us at the point of our need?
I think it's important to equip the Minerals Commission to be able to play its regulatory functions much better than they have done now. They must have an increased presence, and we need to improve upon law enforcement. We don't need another nomenclature to be playing the role that the Minerals Commission has been assigned. But that said, I am sure the NDC was implying maybe regulating the trade in minerals, because if you look at the functions of the Cocoa Board, they are actually more like playing a critical role in terms of trade of our cocoa beans. So they will buy from the farmers and then export. The value in that is that we are better able to account for our gold production. As we speak, we don't have a very reliable mechanism for accounting for our gold exports. What we do currently is to use records from our exports. That is what is recorded at Kotoka International Airport as a proxy for estimating gold production in Ghana. That is woefully inadequate. It leads to underestimation, because all the gold that crosses the border at Burkina Faso, Lomé border, Côte d'Ivoire and all that are not accounted for in that computation. And so I think the suggestion really is to get somebody, a body that will kind of regulate the trade activities so that we are able to better account for our gold production. But I suppose the PMMC can be supported to play that role, because if you look at it critically, the functions of PMMC is quite similar to that of a Cocoa Board. Of course, we know recently their functions were changed from actually mediating in the trade to now just being a regulator, just providing licenses and also serving as the government assayer. If we want a body like the Cocoa Board, of course, then we need to amend again the Act, the PMMC Act of Establishment, and add these other additional functions that Cocoa Board plays in the cocoa sector to the PMMC mandate.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Steve Mantel. Now, let me come to Godwin Ama before I circle back to Dr. Shibe. Godwin, between the two manifestos and the details of how each party wants to approach the fight against galamsey and the issues in the mining sector, which of them would you say is superior or meets us at the point of our needs?
I think both manifestos, there are similarities in the approach. And I think the operationalization strategy will be what will really let us understand how these manifestos will be able to get the change that we want in the mining sector. For instance, if you are looking at an issue of traceability, within the next 5 years, if you look at the OECD guidelines that they brought, every gold that is exported, there should be that sense of traceability. Where is it coming from? Who produces? How is the state of the communities that produce this gold? Where is the money coming from to fund these operations? All these things will be accounted. And then you have assessments which will be done before your gold can be picked as a country. So the issue of traceability from the mine to the market is something that needs to be developed. And then at the end of the day, it will help us to trace the quantity of gold that is produced in this country, and then who even mining and where it ends up in terms of the market. Secondly, PMMC. If you look at the manifesto of the MPP, they said PMMC presence, they will resource them to be at the farm gates of these mines. I don't think we need that. We already have exporters and then dealers, so they can work together with the PMMC than to go in and then put in a lot of money to really establish these centers for the PMMC. I don't think it's something that, for me or for as a miner and understanding the operations of the aggregators, it will not really work perfectly. It will be, let me use the word, waste of state resources in terms of funds. So let them collaborate or let them work with the existing exporter that are already licensed by government to buy good and also export good. Forex also needs to be reviewed. Aggregators can be part of the project. Because if we are not able to do that, then it gives room for some of them to buy and smuggle it out. Reducing the withholding tax, it used to be 3%, and now it's reduced to 1.5%. And we've really seen the rise in the withholding tax due to the reduction and then gold coming in. But if you want to reduce it to 1%, all of them are talking about reclamation fund. How are we going to get the money? So for me, if we reduce it to 1%, and then the 0.5% of export is kept for reclamation, because we did something with the Minerals Commission that is called the Small Scale Sustainability Fee, which 0.2% of export is retained in that kitty to raise our money to support the small scale sector. So if we want to do something like reclamation, instead of reducing it to 1%, let's keep the 1.5%, use the 0.5% into a kitty, manage it to do the reclamation. I think it will also go a long way to help. Then,
Godwin,
hello.
I wanted to just, rush you a bit and say that, so if it came down to it and you had to choose, which of these manifestos do you think we really need, or has the solutions in there that we need? If you really had to.
All the two manifestos, as I've said, most of the things are similar.
Yeah, but there are some
most of them are similar in
right.
there. And the approach by each political party when they are in government it will really show how. But most of these things are said sometimes, and when it comes to implementation, it becomes a very difficult issue. For instance, the issue of cocoa, fighting illegal mining in cocoa farms.
Yeah.
Why have we really investigated why cocoa farmers are selling their farms to illegal operators? What is causing that? Are they getting value for the cocoa that they are producing? Some of them are even cutting their cocoa for other cash crops. So the Cocoa Board and then the states also need to understand why are they behaving that way and giving their lands to this illegal operation?
Okay.
If you just want to fight without understanding, then at the end of the day, you lose that fight because you don't even understand the drivers, why these people are selling their lands to this illegal operation. Then lastly, beneficial ownership in terms of community mining. I think the community should own this community mining, not individuals. If you have it like the way we have community radios, the same way for community mining, where you have trustees from the community, it shouldn't be the chief that owns it, but trustees from the community, from the youth group, religious group, the palace and all that, they come together to own that concession. And then they will be what we call trustees for this community mining. And then if they want to partner an individual to provide them a service, then they will partner than individuals owning it. Then how do we call it community mining when you have individual owning them? I think that is not what even we proposed initially when it comes to the issue of community mining. So we need to review that one so that the beneficial owners should be the communities themselves and then interest. And what is happening now, as we speak, there's so much distraction. You're looking at people mining close to the Accra, Kumasi, border areas and all. The rate at which people are mining because it's election year, we need to do something about it now. We cannot wait till next year and say, when I come to, what are we doing now?
Okay.
Whilst people are mining at the electric pylons, and at the end of the day, these pylons will fall and it will affect industries, everyone. What are we doing now as a country? Is it because it's an election year, we leave people to do what they want? Then, when we get to office, it will take us 1 year again to put ourselves together. Where will we be as a country? The impact of global warming is there. Climate change is also there. So we need to do something now. We shouldn't wait till we are elected into office.
Godwin Ama, thank you. General Secretary for the Association of Small-Scale Miners. That means, Dr. Ashigbe, you have the final word. And I mean, just to write on the point that Godwin was making about both manifestos being the same and the issue about communities rather mining these, owning these concessions, the NPP wants to emphasize community benefits through local content policies and reinvestment of profits in the local infrastructure. The NDC, on the other hand, is advocating for direct financial support to Ghanaian entrepreneurs in the mining sector and a fund specifically for local development. So that is where there are some key differences. But, Doc, you have the final word. Between the two manifestos, which one meets us at the point of our needs?
Again, you know, so I would not depart from what Dr. Mantiao and Gordon had said. It is, they sound similar, you know, a lot of the things, they say it in different ways. And again, another thing we need to do in analyzing the manifestos, we need to read beyond just the places that they have dedicated for the issues of the mining. So, for example, you find out that NDC somewhere talks about Etiwa, that the fact that they're going to stop, you know, minings like projects like Etiwa and all of that. So we need to actually look into it. But again, it's going to be, you know, in the eating. The devil is in the detail. You know, and so if we will have to look again at what all of them have done, it will be good to go back and look at what they've done. How much of Ghana's manifestos are converted into policies? How much of those policies are actually converted, go into the budget and are implemented? So we need to really unpack this and understand the bits. But as we've said, there are some elements that are not in it. So if you take the issue of the geological survey, for example, that the NPP talks, that's important to do. If you take the NDC talking about, you know, a mining project like the Etiwa that is actually at the heart of our sustainability that they are going to take, that is good enough. So it will be difficult to really, from the two. All I would say is that there are elements that are absent in both manifestos that are very critical. And one of them is the independence of the regulatory bodies. It has to be so made a focal point that, you know, the local, the regulatory bodies are independent. And I'll just re-echo again what, you know, both of my colleagues have said. The issue about placing Ghanaians at the center of of our mining industry. Yeah. If it means sacrificing, those of us living today, sacrificing because we have to invest to be able to get this ownership, let's do it. That's really very, it's important that we do that. And again, one of the things I would want to say is that we need to review the Minerals and Mining Act and create a PIAC, like the way we have the PIAC for the oil industry. Because you see, Parliament have shown that they really do not have any oversight over that. So let's make sure that in the mining sector as well, we are able to do that. And the issues about the polluter pay, it's also a very, very important thing that we also need to ensure that we would put into what it is that we have to do. So I believe that maybe a bit more detail in look at these manifestos and figuring out, but they need to, again, just to end on what Godwin said. Currently, the level of devastation that is taking place between August and December, if we don't stop it immediately, what will happen is that by January, both John Mahama and Baumia will not have any mining sector to apply their manifestos on. So we need to stop the damage that is happening currently. And I will urge the current president and the leadership today to take a cue from what Otumfuo has done, where he sees people who are under his purview, and he distils these people. We should make sure that the laws are biting. The Draw River place that is being under threat currently, let's be seen to be doing something about it. And the Chief Justice, please, Chief Justice, you need to get us translators that will deal with these Chinese that will also have been arrested. And the IGP also needs to deal. A case like Akonta Mining, we've petitioned him. That case is with him. Nothing has been heard of it. We need to deal with it now as we prepare for the tomorrow.
Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe, thank you so much. He's the convener for Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining. We also spoke to Dr. Steve Mantiao, the co-chair for Ghana Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, as well as Godwin Ama, General Secretary, Association of Small-Scale Miners. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for helping us shed light on the issues as stipulated or proposed in both manifestos in the fight against corruption. Well, this is the end of this belt of conversation. There's still more coming your way on the AM show. Don't go away. In our climate focus series today, we bring you Vanishing Shores Point 3. The effects of the rising sea level is destroying many coastal communities in Ghana. The small fishing town of Anlo Beach in the western region, once bustling with life, now faces an uncertain future as rising sea levels is claiming homes and schools. This is today's episode of Climate Focus series on Vanishing Shores. Abui Koku Mauto takes us to the Anglo community grappling with the devastating impact of the tidal waves.
52-year-old Kennedy Atipo is an inland fisherman and a community leader in Anlo Beach. Like him, many of the elders in this town have their basic education in the Anlo Beach Methodist Primary School.
We do play volley and football inside here. When it is time of game, the athletics, we do all here.
This school has been raised down by rising sea tides. The over 500 students have been moved into makeshift structures put up by the community members.
This school in which we are now, it is in the middle of the town. There's other houses up front there. Those houses in the sea now. And then from there, you walk through a thick coconut plantation before you walk on the sandbar and then to the shore.
Like many coastal towns, Anlo Beach, originally known as Simakeji in the western region, suffers from rising sea levels. This town, which used to be a cradle of fishing activities, is now a pale shadow of its former self. The last high tide happened 4 months ago and carried with it many homes and key community structures, including the school, which was built in the 1950s by the community members themselves. Now, the children have to walk between 10 to 20 minutes to the makeshift school, which in itself has a myriad of issues.
They have no cement in the classroom, so if teacher is teaching, when you have closed, we all be dirty.
When I come to school, if I am learning, the JHS people, they disturb me. So if the teacher is saying that thing, I can't hear it.
Robert Ansa has been teaching at the school for over 13 years.
When I came here 2010 and I started teaching, the school is in order. Every structure is there. We even have this caging there. So everything was normal. Classroom, we have our teaching and learning materials, everything, we paste. But when we came here, the place is open, uncompleted. Where do you use? It must be classroom printed material or print-rich materials, but you don't have them.
Grace Senanu, a fishmonger, has 2 young boys, both of whom used to attend the Anlo Beach Methodist Primary School. She is thankful that the destruction of the school happened at night, but cannot hide her grief. Christian Havon grew up in Anlo Beach. He attended the Methodist Primary School, and his child is there now. His voice echoes the plea of the entire community.
Completely. For example, Christmas time, they refuse to go. So our sea must be different.
Approximately 25% of Ghana's population lives in coastal areas. Between 2005 and 2017, rising sea levels claimed almost 37% of the nation's land area. The World Bank Group's Country Climate and Development Report for Ghana estimates that at least 1 million more people could fall into poverty due to climate change. Anlo Beach has only one ask: support to complete and refurbish their new school as they wait for the government to build a sea defense wall for them.
Let's broaden the conversation and speak to Albert Derrick Fiatu, who is the executive director for the Center for International Maritime Affairs Ghana, for more on this. Mr. Derrick Fiatu, thank you for joining the conversation. You're on the AM show.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you and our viewers.
Good morning. I was a bit confused when I saw the Anglo community in Western region. I thought they were talking about Volta region, but indeed there's an Anglo community in the Volta region. And I mean, this community is asking for a sea defense to deal with the tidal waves that is destroying their homes. How effective are sea defense structures in mitigating the impacts of rising sea, and are there limitations to their effectiveness?
Thank you very much. Yes, there are limitations to their effectiveness, but I think it's a good call for the people to be asking for the sea defense wall to be erected as a means of protecting them temporarily. We have kept saying that the sea defense wall erection is not a permanent solution to coastal erosion and tidal wave destruction, but a stopgap measure that is adopted across board to be able to contain the situation. And so if the sea defense wall is erected, then we can plan properly and make sure that we put up a proper solution, a more effective and efficient green technology to cater for the situation.
So a sea defense is not, the wall is not a permanent solution to the problem?
No, it's not. It's not a permanent solution. It's only a temporary measure. Last week, we were talking about the Volta region. That is the eastern coast. You know, the country has about 550 meters coastline, which is segregated into 3 geomorphic areas: the western, the central, and the eastern, which is the Volta one we spoke about last week.
Yeah.
And we have seen sea defense walls erected in some of these areas, but the outcome has not been so good. Even though immediately it solves or contains the situation in a bit, permanently it causes a lot of damage to biodiversity and marine environment.
So could there be any unintended consequences in constructing a sea defense wall for that ecosystem? Could it impact any economic activity over there?
Of course, yes. You know, our people are mainly into fishing. And so when the marine environment or coastal biodiversity is destroyed and rocks are placed along the coast to defend the ocean, which doesn't really work, they lose their livelihoods because they are not able to go fishing the way they used to do it. And so the impact on economic activities is grave. And so, of course, we can say that, yes, they should come in with a sea defense wall, but it shouldn't take long for a permanent solution to be looked at to be able to address the situation.
What are these permanent solutions you talk about?
We are talking about some green technologies that has been adopted across the world. When you go to America, for instance, this situation arises, and we are told by the Geological Science Department that about $700 million is spent annually to protect the coast over there. And so it's not a one-time activity. We have to really be deliberate and take the measures that has to be taken to be able to contain the situation. Fortunately for us in Ghana now, we are aware that the West African Coastal Resilience Program is about to take effect. So we can only appeal to government that there shouldn't be any further delay. They should start the project immediately so that what is left of the coast is salvaged, because it's really a very difficult situation. And besides Galamsey, this is one of the critical environmental challenges that we have faced, not just as a country, but as a globe.
So we should be looking at starting this long-term project rather than building a sea defense wall, you say?
I think that is the long-term solution. But in the short term or in the interim, the sea defense walls also come into help. Okay. But when we leave them for long and think that that is the solution, then it ends up creating more problems than solving what we intended it to be.
How long or how temporary is the sea defense wall? How long can it last?
Normally, it shouldn't go beyond 3 years. Once it is erected and the situation is contained, immediately plans have to start so that the green technologies are adopted. And also, we have been calling for natural or nature-based approaches. That is the beach nourishment or revegetation of the coastal areas, especially the planting of mangroves and other vegetation cover that protects the coastline more resiliently than the rock sea protection or the sea defense walls erection.
Albert Derek Fiatu, thank you so much. And he's Executive Director for the Center for International Maritime Affairs. Thank you for shining lights on the sea defense and happenings in the Anlo community in the Western region. Now, this is the end of this belt of conversation, but stay with me because we are going to talk about everything safety in the workplace. We have a rep from the Ghana National Fire Service to help us get into that. We'll be right back.
Time was 9:45 a.m. in Parliament, and the Assurance Committee of the House was getting ready to question Works and Housing Minister Kojo Nkrumah on some assurances he had made on the floor of Parliament. But just when that was about to get underway, officials came in and whisked everyone away because the Job 600 building, which was adjoining the committee room, had caught fire. Staffers and MPs were evacuated, with so many having no idea what exactly was happening. minutes later, it was clear that the fire was spreading and fire tenders were deployed from the fire service headquarters to douse the flames.
Around 9:45, we received a distress call, and within less than 5 minutes, our appliance was here. What we are saying now is fire that has affected one of the rooms. It is like a storeroom because we have some storage items there. So our aim now is to get the fire confined.
Parliament has now been without a fire tender for some time. The chief fire officer has been providing an update on that.
This has begun, and we'll come out with the cause of the fire in due course.
This is not the first time we are recording a fire incident on the same complex. How concerning is that?
Yes, fire, we can never predict. Anything can happen. So you should not doubt that. That's why you have all kinds of things there. Anything could happen to cause fire.
We are aware that the fire tender station here in Parliament has developed some fault.
Of course.
It's undergoing servicing.
Yeah, exactly.
When is it returning?
Oh, very soon. Within the week, it will return. Fortunately, we have stations around to cover the place. So there's no problem.
The cause of the fire is now unknown, and the Ghana Fire Service is deploying resources to find out exactly what happened and also to ensure this never happens again.
Well, the place might look darker now, but just about an hour and a half ago, this house was up in flames. We're told that a woman left her cylinder unattended to, and it got lit, and the entire place went up in flames.
A woman who just lighted a gas, and then trying to prepare something to eat. Okay. But when that, he left the fire and then the gas, okay, and then left in the room. Okay. So that has to bring that explosion of destruction of destroying, okay, people's rooms and then other.
Okay. The fire service personnel who came on duty tell us that they were on time.
In fact, we had a call 1806 hours. That is 606 hours. Okay, 1806 hours. And we got here 1816 hours. Now, when you get a call, we take 1 minute to dispatch the tender. And the vehicle came from Circle. And around this time, the road is very busy, the traffic. So they got here in less than 6 minutes. So if you say we didn't come here early, well, I beg to differ. And again, who called us? And at what number did he call? These are things that we need to find out. Many times, yes, you did well by attempting to salvage some of the items, but your initial attempt is to call us before you tackle the salvaging aspect.
But the eyewitnesses beg to differ.
I heard they said 6 minutes. Imagine if it was 6 minutes. I don't think this thing will happen. They should be up and doing. When they call them, they should respond to us and come in. If they think they are lacking one or two things, they should let the government know and he will do it for them.
From Malata in Accra, Kenneth Jesse for Joy News.
2 incidents of fire yesterday. Let's talk about this. How do we keep our workplace safe from fire outbreaks? And really, what went wrong at that 12th floor Job 600 building that serves as the offices of members of parliament and parliamentary service staff? What are the lessons for us as public and corporate entities? And how do we really, what do you know about keeping safe? Let's get to know all the facts about this. In the studio with me this morning is DS Afo, and he's the lead investigation at the Ghana National Fire Service. DS Afo, thank you so much for joining us on the AM show.
Thank you.
I want to start from Parliament, that fire outbreak that we saw over there. Really, what's the assessment of the situation as we speak now?
Okay, thank you, and then good morning to your viewers. Before I address that issue, I wish to comment about safety in buildings first.
Okay.
When we say safety in buildings, what are we talking about? We are talking about measures, regulations, and other practices that we put in place to ensure that human beings in buildings are safe.
Yes.
So in terms of this, what are the safety measures that you're looking at?
Okay, but we do want to get into...
Yes, I want to address that. We need to understand
all right, sure,
what safety means in a building.
Mm-hmm.
Then we delve into what happened.
Okay.
So what it means is that once you have the building in place, there are certain things that one needs to put in place. You look at the structure, look at the fire protection measures, and then you look at the day-to-day activities of the occupants. That is what one needs to know so that you can prevent these fires.
Okay.
Now let's get back to the question of what happens.
Yeah.
Like we all saw in the video. When the incident happened, we were called to duty. We went there. We were able to manage the situation. Apparently, what happened was the thing happening between the first, it's not the top floor. It's happening in between the first and the second floor. There's a mezzanine floor. That is where the thing happened. And it was confined to only one room.
Just one room?
One room.
Which means that's where it started?
Yes.
Something went wrong there. What went wrong?
Oh, basically, if you take the principles of fire or the theory of fire, there are three things that comes to bear. You look at the combustible material, the heat, and the fuel. Oxygen, and then. Right. So what it means is that whenever this thing comes to place in appropriate proportion, then fire will start. As we sit here, we have fuel in place, we have oxygen, we have heat. But because they are not in their rightful proportion, fire will not start. So unfortunately for them, the proportion were able to meet, and then they met the requirement, and the fire started. So
it was not, as a result of negligence on someone's part. It's just the right proportion of all these elements coming.
Yes, currently the thing is an investigation, so I cannot comment on it. But for fire to start, you need the fuel, you need the heat, and oxygen for fire to start. What it means is that within our environment, we have what we call hazards. It is the hazard that causes fire. Okay. If you don't manage the hazard well, then fire will start.
Okay. So I understand that you say it's an active investigation and you can't comment, but as we speak now, what is the status? Calm has been restored?
Yes, please.
No casualties reported?
No, please.
Everything is
over.
And then there was that other incident at Malata.
Yes.
What happened there too? From the report, they said someone left a gas, and then the issues raised about your response time. The official there said they got to the ground in about 6 minutes, but eyewitnesses are saying that if it was 6 minutes, really, the damage that we saw would be minimal than what we saw.
Yes, you see, I disagree with the witness. We went there. When you call, the call goes to our central point of communication. That is FMC, Fire Master Control. They keep records as and when we receive distress calls. Then the appliance is dispatched. We keep record of that. When you go to the scene, we keep record of that. Then we look at the time that the fire will be extinguished. We have what we call under control. Under control means the men on the ground are in charge, and therefore there's no cause for alarm. So when the fire is extinguished, we report back to the Fire Master Control. All this information or data are there.
Do you have enough tenders at vantage points, especially here in Accra, to allow for quick response in an incident of fire?
I will not say enough. We have tenders in place. As and when emergency occur, we attend.
Okay. So it was 6 minutes?
Yes.
Or less than, or more than 6 minutes?
No, less.
Less than 6 minutes? Or
6 minutes. My colleague just said.
Okay. All right. And Parliament too. I saw the woman say it was 5 minutes.
No.
The fire officer was saying that we got here in about 5 minutes. So it was 5 minutes exactly.
We are yet to
we are yet to establish.
Yeah, because we need to get to the control room and get the facts right. Okay. I don't want to speculate the time.
No problem.
Yes.
So let's get into understanding workplace safety regulation. So what are the key fire safety regulations that Ghanaian workplaces are required to follow?
Thank you. For us to talk about this, we need to understand the legal framework that we used, or practitioners need to know. One, we have the LI 1724. That mandates Ghana National Fire to ensure that every public premises is safe for use. Then we have the building code, GS 1206, 2018. And then we have the building regulation, LI 2465. These are the documents that helps practitioners and regulators to ensure that public premises are safe for use.
Okay. And now all buildings are not the same. So
Yes.
are there different approaches to high-rise buildings and all that? What are the differences and the differences in the approach?
You see, when it comes to safety, we start safety planning from the drawing board. Because before you put up the building, you engage an architect to do that for you, or a professional to do it for you. So the professional need to know your requirements. Based on that, the design is put in place, and then these drawings are sent to, or are supposed to be sent to, Ghana National Fire Service for our input. So we'll do that, and when we're okay with your safety protocols as proposed in the reports and on the drawings, then we'll give you the nod for it. So it is based on the use. The safety measures in offices will be different from a safety measure in factories. The safety measures at home will be different from that of offices. So basically, but there are fundamental requirements. You may need detection system, that's the smoke detectors, call point and sounders. You may need firefighting equipment. You may need other safety measures in terms of means of escape, protocols that you need to put in place. In some situations, you'll be required to provide what we call fire retardant paints on the wall, so that in a fire situation, these paint will pop up to serve as a shield. Yes, to prevent the fire from spreading to other areas.
And how frequently are these regulations updated to keep up the pace with new safety challenges? How frequently do you update these?
These are laws. I think laws are made to run for a long time. But for us, we look at the safety protocols in terms of renewal of your fire certificates. So yearly, one needs to go to Ghana National Fire Service to renew the fire certificate. Once it is renewed...
To renew what?
Renew the fire certificates. We issue fire certificates to premises, especially public premises. And what it means is that a fire officer is supposed to come to your end and then check your safety protocols if they are okay, check your lighting system in terms of electricals and all those things, if they are in a rightful position, and therefore recommend your facility or your premises to the chief officer to issue a new fire certificate to that facility.
And this is the responsibility of employees or business owners to...
The occupier, let me put it this way, the occupier and then the owner of the building.
Right.
So once you occupy, it is your responsibility. It could also be the owner of the building.
And how does Ghana National Fire Service check to ensure that these owners and occupants of businesses and buildings are complying with this yearly renewal of fire certificates?
Yes, I hope you are talking about enforcement.
Yes, enforcement.
Yes,
how
enforcement.
How are you ensuring that?
We look at education, one, it's another form of enforcement. We look at the engineering component and then education. So for us as a Ghana National Fire, we have officers or men that goes around to ensure that, especially public premises, they have the safety protocol in place, and these protocols are functioning. And then report back to the authorities. And to confirm that, what it means is that the premises have to renew the fire certificate if they have it. If they don't have it, then the officer will ensure that that premises acquire a fire certificate to ensure.
Are there any punitive measures taken against those who deliberately do not renew their...
Yes, there are punitive measures.
Like what?
One is a fine. Okay. Two is imprisonment.
Imprisonment?
And then both.
Up to how many years? Let's say if your certificates overlaps for 2 years without renewal, what's the worst that could happen to you in terms of punishment? Punishment,
but I cannot give you specific now. But I know the law make provision for that. That one needs to be fined. You pay in the penalty units. One is 250. We have 100, 250.
Right.
And then the years that you need to serve in prison. And I quite remember you are asking me if we've done that. I quite remember when I was in Ashanti region as a regional safety officer, I was able to take about 103 institutions to court, and they were fined. Not that we are not, we are doing it.
You're doing it.
Then when it comes to education and other things, when I was in Tema, we do house-to-house safety checks, risk assessment at home. Well, we come to you, we ask you if your gas cylinder is on, if it's not in use, make sure you put it off. If electrical appliances are not in use, you put them all those off, and then remove them from the circuit. So we are doing it. And yearly, we have a period within the year that would declare it as a safety week. which means I will go to communities, we go to market to educate people about what you need to do to prevent these fires from occurring.
Okay. At some point, we would open the phone lines,
Yes.
and our audience gets to interact with us as well. But based on your experience, what are the most common fire hazards in the Ghanaian workplaces, and how can they be effectively mitigated?
Most common fires
Yeah.
in Ghanaian workplaces or in
Fire
Ghana?
hazards, yeah.
If you talk about hazards, there are a lot. As we see, there are hazards around us.
What are the common ones that you see or encounter in your daily, in the discharge of your duty as a fireman?
As a fireman,
Yeah.
most often it's negligence of handling of electrical appliances. It is not the ECG that causes it. It is the way we handle the appliances that causes the fire. And then sometimes also you notice that ignorance also is another component of it that causes these fires. So these are the generic ones. But if you want to talk about nature, then we have the domestic, we have the commercial, and we have industrial.
You said ignorance. It means that not as many people understand the safety protocols and measures to keep safe, especially at the workplace. Is that a detriment, or is that a negative in the discharge of your duties to educate the public and ensure that
Let me explain the negligence. You see, negligence is where you are aware, but you refuse to do the right thing. You've been educated. You refuse to do it. You've been told not to plug electrical appliances more than 2 in a socket, and you do that. It's negligence.
Yeah. Nobody's ignorant. Okay.
Then ignorance is a situation where you don't know. Here we are referring to children. Sometimes children can also set fire.
Right.
They will plug in because mom and dad, they saw mom and dad ironing from a point. Mom and dad are not around. Mom and dad are not around. And then maybe they want to wear t-shirt, they'll pick the iron it, and then drop it, leave the iron on, and this starts on. So on the part of the child, it is ignorance.
Okay.
So these are the differences.
Okay. Let's talk about, the importance of employee training. And I was telling you before we came on air that we used to see firemen go around to offices and homes to show you how to, or demonstrate how to use the fire extinguisher and all that. And I mean, there's a fire TV station now, so most of those is happening on the TV stations. But I do not see as much as the in-person demonstrations and training these days as we used to do. And how important is employee training in maintaining workplace safety, would you say?
It is very important. When it comes to safety, we have what we call a shared responsibility. It is the employee and the employer who have to come together and ensure that the place is safe too. And therefore, fire service will ensure that we provide training, adequate training. We have other institutions, service providers, who also provide. They liaise with Ghana National Fire Service, and they will provide these services.
So you're doing enough?
We are doing it.
I haven't had any training.
Then you have to invite us to.
Any of the places I've worked, I've never had personnel from Ghana National Fire Service come to train. I'm saying it truthfully. I've never had
As far as I know, I know
and I'm just one person.
One person, okay. I know we've provided. I know a colleague some years back was providing services to you through a service provider. He helped you to acquire the fire certificate. And without training, we will not also issue the fire certificate. So training is one of the requirements. And it is in the LI 1724. And the law says that Ghana National Fire Service shall ensure adequate training are provided. So once the training is provided, we issue you with the fire certificate.
Where was your latest training session?
In fact, I would say that, the most current one, I will not be able to give you now because these trainings are done at the district levels. We have number of fire stations, which we call district fire stations. And these district fire, they have safety units. They go out to do the daily education. Even now, as I explained, you may have a unit going out there to provide the training. Just that the media does not show much interest when it comes to safety or fire service activity. Our interest is when we have issues that are fire outbreaks, major ones, then they will take the trouble, let's find out what the issues are. But then if we take the interest and we partner Ghana National Fire Service to provide this public education, I think it will help all of us.
What we are doing right now
I agree with you.
It's one of such public education and collaboration with you.
Yes.
But you can join the conversation, call us, let us know what issues you have in terms of fire, safety at work and all that. We have the Deputy Director here, lead of investigations, and he'll help us gain some clarity on the matter. So, Director, what are the most effective fire prevention strategies that employers can implement? I know that you must have a fire extinguisher, and then you talked about the certificate.
Yeah.
What else? Then
you need to also ensure that these equipments are functioning. You have a service provider ensuring your things are working effectively. And there's this practice, especially where we have detection system in place. You move into some facilities and then you have covers. The sensor, after the installation, they put what we call cover on it to prevent dust to get into it. And as you go around, you may have, or you see these things around. And I don't want to mention names. Even this morning, I saw one this morning somewhere.
Hey.
Yes.
Okay.
So maybe after this program, maybe you can also go around to check if you have such things around. Now, what it means is that you have a problem with your detection systems.
Okay.
Because the sensor will pick the dust or any other thing, and then which is sensitive to the sensor, and then raise an alarm. And because we want to prevent these frequent sounding of the alarm or triggering of the detector, we'll put the cover there to prevent it, which is not the best practice. What it means is that you need to call a provider to come and check your alarms, your panel. But most of you don't do that. We think that, oh, fire, it won't happen. So let's put the cover on it and then we live with it. And it's not a good price. So I would advise that for us to have a effective safety strategy, first you need fire safety management plan. That will spell out our role.
And what does a comprehensive plan look like? A comprehensive fire safety plan. What does it look
you are looking at management responsibility, employee responsibility, and the protocols that have been put in place.
Okay, Director, we have our audience have joined us already. We have Andrew from Akwigwa. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning, madam.
What are your concerns?
Oh, okay, first of all, thank you so much for this education. I'm just here to commend Mr. Alpha for the education you have shared this morning. I'm really enjoying the conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Alpha, he said
welcome.
he's enjoying the conversation.
Thank you.
He's learning a lot. Okay, so we were talking about a comprehensive fire prevention or management plan.
Yes.
What does that encapsulate?
So you look at the management responsibility, employee responsibility, the risk assessment. That will tell you your vulnerability level of that organization and the measure that you put in place or you intend to put in place in the near future. So once these documents, it serves as a guide. For instance, let's look at the management responsibility. If you want to maybe service your fire, it has expired, you want to service a fire extinguisher, and management don't have much interest in that, he or she may decide that, oh,
it's nothing, just leave it.
No, Leslie, it's too expensive. And for your information, fire safety gadgets or accoutrement are very expensive. Very, very expensive.
Wow.
Even if you are putting up a burden, I can say that it takes about 30% of the cost of the burden. I'm not talking about buying just fire extinguishers, but if really you want to put in place, looking at means of escape, considering fire doors, exit directional signs.
Even the alarm is not cheap.
And everything.
The detector, I mean.
The detectors, they are very expensive. And most often, employers want to at least look down upon those things. Oh, we can do without these things because we've lived with it for years and nothing has happened.
Okay. Let's pause here and invite Michael from Kokomimli. Michael, grateful to have you join the conversation. What's on your mind?
Yes, good morning. Good morning to you and your guest. The fire outbreak was very close to me in Kokomimli here. And it looks as if the whole area, there is no education going on. Fire workers don't come around to educate anybody about fire outbreak and what we should do when there is fire. There is even an officer in my area here. I live around Agbami Road. That officer always burns rubbish. You see, bola that we are supposed to be giving to these bola people who takes bola, he is a fire service officer, but he burns boiler to disturb the whole area. You will come out, your room will be smelling of smoke. Sometimes we might even think it's our electrical gadgets that are burning, only to come out and then realize that it is a fire service officer who is burning boiler. We've confronted him, he has refused. I even reported him to the assemblyman of the area, and then he promised to bring EPA people to come and then serve him a letter and warn him. You see, so some of even the officers are not even aware of these fire safety precautions.
Thank you, Michael. And hold and give us the name of this officer so that Director Afo can deal with the person. I mean, we want to name and shame, but let's not do it right here on air. So hold, my producers will take the name of the officer. Thank you for calling. So, Mr. Afo, they're saying that right here in Kokomimli, we are in Kokomimli, they've not seen enough education going on. And I said the same thing to you. What's your response to that?
No, we are still doing public education. And we see we are using the in-person and then in the media. If you go to our media handles, you get other information on public education. Like I mentioned, if I'm permitted, now we have Fire TV, and we do a lot of public education. And there are a series of programs that we run. What to do at the home, at the workplace, and all those things. Even last week, we were talking about fire safety policies. And these things are running. So I think that our advice is they should also at least tune to Fire TV and then learn a bit from us when it comes to things to do, the safety measures and protocols that you need to put in place, both at the workplace and at home. Or
you can also escalate or expand your reach in terms of the...
Noted.
Great. Let's invite another Michael from Accra. Michael, what's on your mind? Do we have Michael on the line with us? Okay, it appears we've lost Michael. So what are the consequences?
Hello?
Yeah, Michael.
Hello, this is KJC.
Don't listen to us on your TV set. Turn the volume all the way down and talk to us directly. What's on your mind?
I want to commend the fire officer there and the way he's been able to articulate some of the laws with regards to prosecution. That is where my interest is. Because if you look at Swame, for instance, and its environment, you realize that a lot of people have consumed their setbacks. If we mean setback, is the space between your wall and the building. And that spaces, I learned, is mainly for firefighters. That is why they have to ensure that every house you are able to circumlocute or go around the house. But a lot of people have consumed it. Some have even used part of their fence wall as part of their building. What is fire service doing about that? We want to see the prosecution that he's talking about being enforced on the ground. And that is where I will want to say my emphasis.
Thank you, Michael. He's talking about prosecution. And the other man, the first Michael that spoke to us, talked about burning. I've heard fire service personnel tell us countless times to just avoid burning. This is an official who is burning. So what, are we preaching virtue and practicing vice?
No, it's unfunny this thing happened, and I would like to apologize for that. It is not a good practice, even though we permit control burning. Control burning means that you burn and then you ensure that you provide some measures around it, where maybe you have water standing by in case the thing escalates. You don't leave that burning and then go away.
Or you dig and burn in the hole.
So that is control burning. But it's unfortunate that an officer who is expected to know better is doing this. So I'll take that matter up and then ensure that it doesn't happen again.
And the other concern was that they haven't actually seen these punitive actions that he talked about. I mean, prosecution, the fine. Maybe if you do, the way that we report on fire outbreaks and your quick, swift response, then maybe we can also make it a public thing. It deters other people from committing the same crime. Okay. We have Osman from Pig Farm. Osman, share your concerns with us.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning, Osman. Go ahead. And don't listen to us on your TV. Turn the volume all the way down and talk to us directly. What's on your mind?
Good morning.
Good morning, Osman. Go ahead.
Okay. I've listened to the program, and what the officer is saying is very lighted. But my issue now is that, this gas issue, burning of places and other things, I think is coming too complicated now.
I think we lost Osman. I struggled to hear his, he qualified the thing. He said it's very something. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't.
Okay, great. Osman, maybe you can call us again and let us get clarity on what your concerns are. So you were saying, I was going to ask you about the consequences for businesses who fail to comply with these regulations. And then we had the issues about the punitive actions and so on and so forth. Right now, what initiatives are is the Ghana Fire Service implementing to ensure that, one, people comply with the regulations, two, you're actually creating enough awareness so that the ignorant ones, like the children that you say, actually have a sense of how to even stay safe when their parents are not around, and really just to educate the public on how to stay safe?
Thank you. I think I mentioned the 3 E's: engineering,
education, engineering,
and enforcement.
Right.
Engineering is where you submit your drawings to us for us to review and then advise you accordingly. Education is what we do, one-on-one public education. As we speak now, we have fire cadets in schools. We send officers there to educate them so that they will not cause fire in their homes.
Okay. We should be wrapping up, but we have Enchi, someone calling us rather from Enchi. Hello, thank you for calling. What's the name?
Hello, this is Mr. Joseph.
Mr. Joseph from Enchi. Joseph, share your thoughts with us.
Good morning to you and your guest. And I think what our senior officer is saying, good morning to you and your guest.
Morning.
I think what our senior officer is saying, it's normal here. Fire officers goes around, educate people around. They sometimes advise them to buy fire extinguishers and the other gadgets that can help them even quench fire before they call the office. But they don't do it. We are in this Ghana, we know Ghanaians. When you even ask them to do the right thing, they will turn out. As time goes on, we don't know what we are even doing. We go to the marketplaces, these people smoking fishes and coal, a whole lot of things. They don't have fire extinguishers. They don't have anything. So if there's any fire outbreak at the market square, how are you going to quench the fire before you even call the office for help? So please, we should help ourselves before the officers also come in.
Okay. And I think thank you so much for calling. And I think it fits into what you're saying.
Yes.
You arm the people enough, they can take care of themselves, you know? Yeah. And the other issues that he raised, what's your response to that?
Which one?
About how we are going to be quenching fires in the marketplaces. And I mean, the issue about hydrants keep coming up, you know?
The issue, yes.
Yeah.
You want us to talk about hydrants?
Let's talk about hydrants.
You see,
and sometimes there are reports that it's empty, sometimes they're not enough, you know, between where the incident of fire occurs and where they have to deploy those tenders or hydrants from is so far.
Thank you. You know, when we talk about hydrants are the property of Ghana Water. Fire Service only assess it. So the outlets where we assess them, which we call it as hydrant, they are pipelines run. And these hydrants, as and when Ghana Water decides, they can raise the pressure level or make it lower. And if it is lower, we cannot draft the water. We cannot take water. So in Accra here, we have specific areas that will take water for firefighting. And Fire Service cannot be blamed. The maintenance of the hydrant is the responsibility of Ghana Water, not Fire Service.
What's the communication there between the Ghana Fire Service and Ghana Water?
There is. As we speak now, I don't know whether you check your water bill. You pay 1% of that to Ghana for firefighting to Ghana Water.
But if they're not giving you enough for you to do
so
your
it
work,
is your responsibility. The citizenry are supposed to ask Ghana Water, why are you not providing us with enough hydrants for Fire Service to assess? It is not my responsibility.
Mr. Afo,
yes.
Your responsibility is to fight fire.
Yes.
To do that, You need water.
That collaboration.
Supplied, yes, collaboration. Supplied
yes, there.
by Ghana Water Company Limited.
Yes.
Now you're saying that there's a challenge there.
Yes.
Sometimes they're unable to give you enough water.
Yes.
You cannot ask us as citizens to ask them why there's that challenge. You need it. You need them to come through for you. So what are you doing to ensure that...
We collaborate. We collaborate. So in some situations, we have to call them to give us enough pressure for us to take the water. Do you know yesterday we had a problem at Malata there? There was no water. So we have to mobilize another water tanker elsewhere to provide us with water.
Mr. Afo, we have to go. What will be your final word to our audience?
I would say that as Ghanaians, we should appreciate that when it comes to safety in buildings and public places, it's a shared responsibility. We can also extend these responsibilities to our homes so that at the end of the day, we will experience a fire-free nation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. David Afo, DS Afo, the Deputy Director and Lead for Investigations at the Ghana National Fire Service. Thank you so much for joining us on the AM show.
Thank you.
And that's our show for today, Wednesday, the 28th of August, 2024. Tomorrow, that national dialogue on press freedom, defending press freedom, media freedom, is coming off here on Joy News Channel. You don't want to miss it. My name is Sweetie Abochi. Thank you so much for your company. Coming up next is Joy News Desk with Faustina Safo. Have a lovely day.